Hello, everyone. Welcome into the part two of our series, Building a Web3 Mobile Wallet. And the first series, which was yesterday, like 24 hours earlier, we started with the series, we created something, and we did the whole setup yesterday, and we decided to move from there. So today is going to be somewhat similar to what we did yesterday, like not too different. But we're going to continue from where we stopped, right? Because now that we already set up our project yesterday, we did some setup yesterday and we were able to complete that. And what we needed to do next was to get some of the errors fixed. And then once the errors were fixed, we then proceed to building what we intend to build. So we talked about some of those things yesterday. Let me just share my screen from here. And we decided our framework we are going to use yesterday was going to be this. We said what we wanted to build was the features, right? And we're going to use framework, alchemy, expo, and all of this. We decided to use all of this yesterday because it was important. And I said that alchemy is useful because it gives us generous features that we can use to make it easy to work, basically. So that was the intention yesterday, and we ended up using that, and it made a lot of sense. So we had issues when we started it, like we had errors. We needed to fix some of them. We did fix some of them. We needed to push because we couldn't use the Expo build. We had to use the Expo Go version. We had to use development build. So we needed to build to EAS. Then those builds took a lot of time, and so we couldn't complete. We couldn't start with writing code yesterday. Just the normal basic setup. So today, now that we already have everything set up, we don't have issues again. We don't have errors again because all we needed to do yesterday was just to resolve that and then get started. And that was exactly what we did. So proceeding from where we stopped, this is the view that it gives to us from the application we ran yesterday. All I did was run Expo. You can see Expo run Expo start, and that's it. And it just comes up. That was just a minute ago. So we have this. So this is project. These are some of the things. Like I showed you guys yesterday, we are going to have some of the things from from Alchemy, which are going to use as the API key. So I already added an API key. Like I said, this API key I'm going to be exposing in this is just yes for test purposes, because there's no way to show you guys this without actually revealing my API key, except I'm going to be going off and going off. But this is just development key, not production API key. So if you guys are interested, I know it won't be available for you because after some time I have to disconnect it and then create a new one. So basically, this is the idea. So this is where we continue from today. This is what we have as our setup after starting the project. We have this. So what we need to do now is to test to see if we actually if this functionality works, right? So this functionality comes from uh documentation, right? Remember the documentation of yesterday where we talked about how do we use this, how do we use the React Native code to implement some things. And from our get started, we remember we saw some of the things we wanted to use yesterday, and we decided that okay, this will make a lot of sense. Let me increase this so we can see more of this. Okay, so yes, we mentioned some of those things yesterday. Let me just go back to where we are. And so we talked about how to use some of the functionality. But then before we even proceed, let's go to the code, right? Let me just show you guys some of the things. Remember that we had from our app folder yesterday, we talked about signing in, right? And we said we had the main menu. So in this case, this is our sign in basically. Our sign in is just this thing we see here, this basic view we see from here. So let me see if I should increase my screen a bit, increase the font sizes because this might be smaller. I couldn't continue with that, so it was a bit too much. So I had to like reduce it a bit for me to be able to use. Yeah, that was what happened yesterday. So the terminal is still fine. Terminal font is fine, but the editor font should be increased a bit. Let's increase that to 20. Yeah, so apply this. So one more font to increase the appearance. Is it general or just font? Okay, we have the inlay. This. Okay, let me just search for this. Okay, from appearance, then we have this. Then we have the font sizes, if I'm not mistaken, and that should automatically yeah. So let's make it 20, right? Let me apply this. So everything should increase in size automatically then. This I think this is big enough so we can see this. So remember the menu we saw yesterday and we used, and this way, this is what we have basically. So this is starting with the layout. This is the layout, right? I think we mentioned that yesterday, but we didn't really talk about that. The first thing you need is your Alchemy auth session provider. There is no much, I don't think we have enough of that written here in terms of let me copy this documentation because I would like to show you guys what I'm doing here so you don't look as if you're just doing anything that comes to mind. Now this is not even available on the docs, but yeah, the docs is quite shitty actually. They have a terrible documentation on how they don't have a good reference on some of the stuff they actually have, which is quite annoying. Let's see if you have that from. Okay, yes, this is it. Account provider, but this is the auth session provider. We don't have the auth session provider here, which I really wish it was there. So this is the React Native. The React Native signer should also have the functions, which is, but it's not. So yeah, I'll just try to look for as many as we can find while you guys are like understanding what is happening, and they will proceed from there. But basically, this is just some of the functionalities that are needed, right, for us to get started. So that's why we are using this because they've already created some of this for us. So this is a context that was used. Yeah. So this is a context that was used. So account provider is what we need, which is what is provided. The account provider as the general provider, which you have to add to your application. You can also add the query client for making requests, for fetch requests. And you can see the configuration already defined here, which is create config that we have here. So our create config is defined. I think this is big enough. Yeah. So our create config is well defined at this point. And where is it? Yeah, this is it. So we have to add our API key for our query client. So going back to that, do we have that? Yeah. But looking at this, you can see we have constant expo config, the extra, the expo public alchemy. No, not this, not this. Sorry about that. I have to close this. So we have the expo public how came in. So we need to go to constant. Do you have our constant here? Right. Constant is okay. From expo constant. So it's from the configuration. So we don't have that because it's a mobile app. We don't have it like adding .env file. We don't do that. In this case, we don't really use .env file. It's not going to work. So this is how we define our expo config from the alchemy and then the signer. So basically I've added that to the app itself. So if you go to the app, I'm going to show you guys, right? Like I said, it's just a dummy, not really a dummy API key, but I'm going to, this is it. I already added my Expo public Alchemy API key here. So yeah, so this is that Expo public Alchemy API key from extra, from Expo config, and you can see from extra here. So it's coming from here, which is quite valid now. So now let's test this out, right? 8 minutes is gone into this. We want to try as much as possible to create as many things as possible using our email to create an account, a wallet, and then we can use that wallet across board and add other functionalities to the code that we can actually use to build our complete mobile app functionality, right? So now let's proceed. Let me add a dummy email that I have and see if that's going to work. So if I send this, if everything goes well now, um I should be getting my, what's it called? My OTP, right? If all is well, I should be getting the OTP. And so just to be sure, yeah, I got the OTP on my phone. So I'm going to verify, and the OTP is 072304. So first thing we are going to do is we are going to revamp this OTP section, right? It looks cool, but it can be better, like definitely better. I have better views that we can use. Something like this. Let me see if I can have a screenshot that to show you guys. Something like screenshot. Where is the screenshot? Yeah, I can't find the screenshot currently. But then I had some screenshots up for how that could look like. But basically, if I verify this, since just to be sure it's valid, I verify OTP. Let's see what happens. Yeah, you can see it tells me welcome. My organization ID is this, my email, right? My organization ID is this, my address is this, my light account address is this. So I have everything I need to get started. And you can see now that you have a smart account set up, visit our docs to learn how to use this account to send sponsored and non-sponsored user operations. So we are going to do all of this, right? But it's going to be just, we take it gradually. We're going to take it step by step. We start with the initial one, then we'll proceed, then we'll proceed, then we'll proceed. So that's how we're going to handle this, and that's where we're going to take this. So proceeding to the next thing, what do we have next? We've already started with creating this um, signing up now. So that means we have everything working, right? Congratulations to us. The next thing we need to do is now polish the entire application. Now, does this do anything? Yes, it has a menu with sign out and stuff. But we don't want all of this. We want to make use of to see how this is going to work. So we can try it again, right? We can like sign out and sign in again. But I don't want us to do that. First thing I want us to do is revamp some of the things we see. How do we want the wallet to look like? I already gave you guys an example of how I want it to look like yesterday, which is similar to the wallet I built some time ago. That was just late. That was just a month ago, right? I showed you guys, which is this wallet on the Chrome store. I think I closed that yesterday. I showed you guys that. Yeah. So we are going to work with that interface, the UI. So the UI we are working with is pretty straightforward. Um, I have a video about that, so I think I'll just play the video to see how it works. Then we'll follow the video as our basic implementation, or we'll just do that from here to see what we want to build and how it's going to look like. So going back to this, I'll just start this. This always takes time to load. So let's give it time to do its thing. But now we can see that we definitely have completed the main thing. Right now we have just my email. I've been able to create my organization ID, my address, and my Light account, just like that. So yeah, so that's the first thing we have, and basically this makes sense for our use case. So in this case now I have my, so this is what we want to do. So this is basically how the entry, the signing, not the signing, the authentication page will look like. Now in this case we might have a password whenever we decide to add a password to the page, but I'm just going to validate that first. And so this is how the home page should look like. It should look somewhat like this, right? With this is this. So so for us to get started with this, we need to add some certain things to um our project, some UI functionalities. One of the things I want us to use is we are going to be working with um React Native primitives. I'm going to be working with React Native primitives. So this is a platform that already provides like some of the core functionalities we need for some of our applications in terms of like this is built on what's the name? It's built on Radix UI. It has, okay, let me not say built on Radix directly, but it's built on the Radix UI system. So you can use that similar to what I used. And looking at this, right, I leverage Radix a lot here. So Radix for most of the functionalities, Radix for almost everything that was done here, the buttons, the callouts, the literally everything here, the states, everything. So it should be easy for us to copy and paste, reuse some of the functionalities, right? That makes sense. So you should be able to reuse some of the functionalities by copying and pasting it and seeing it work live for us. So let's look at some of the things we actually make use of. So in this case, I have a dialog for when you click this. Now this is a dialog, right? So it displays. So that means we can make use of the same dialog for our use case. So that when I click that, I get a dialog that displays the page for me, that displays this view telling me to copy my address, or I can just share with someone. These are options we can implement. So the buttons, we are going to be using basically all the same buttons that we have. But in this case, the button is quite similar to how ShardCN implements the button. So to show you guys an example, is this the one I want to use? There are two I always make use of. This doesn't even have a button, so I don't think it's this one I want to use. But I'd like to show you guys an example of the one I use. I can find that currently. I'm sure I have that somewhere else. I have that here. Sorry guys. So yeah, I have that here. Yeah, React Native reusables. That's what I need. So going to go back here. Going to go back here. Then okay. So let's look for React Native reusables. Yeah, I think this is the one. So the React Native reusable is one we want, but this is just how it's going to look like. So this is like a demo. Let me put this on that mode. So this is like a demo. You can see this has buttons similar to what we had before. And you can see our buttons are quite similar to what we have now. From here, you can see. So the buttons are quite similar to what we have here. You can configure the buttons too, but these are like defined buttons, so we don't need to be having different styles for everything we do. So this is an option. So in that case, we have the buttons, we have the dialog. If I click on this, it displays this, which is all I did was just the same thing there, but in this, I just configured it to look different from what is here. So this is a perfect use case for what we have. So this is a demo to show you what you are going to see whenever you click on it, and this is how it's going to look like. So you don't need to bother about this much. So we know that this is what we have, but we are not going to stress ourselves on this. So, but this is not the entire thing we need. Also, we need the actual RN React Native reusables, not the showcase. I need the reusable itself. So React Native reusable. Yeah, this is it. I don't know, this is this it. I don't know, but let's just look for it, right? We should be able to see it and then make use of it. Oh wow, it has been revamped. That's cool. All right, so let's get started. See what we have. Okay, so let me increase this so you guys can see what is happening currently. So I'm just going to manipulate this and increase the font size so you see what is going on here. So the first thing we notice from here is we have getting started with React Native reusables. Let's go to the introduction. This is not a component library. It's how you build your component library, bring the chassis and UI experience to React Native, build the familiar tools, all of these things. Yeah, similar, same thing, nothing too crazy, nothing too different. All well and good. So going to the installation, we are going to create this. It says create a new project in your current directory. For more details, see this or add components like this. So run init to start a new project, follow this to set up an existing one, follow the manual process. So we are going to go with the manual process because we already have a project set up, right? But you can see that we can use the button similar to how we have that here, right? But it's basically saying we can use it in our React application. So does it work? Let's test it out. But you can see there's a button here with the capital letter, so that means it makes a lot more sense. So let's go to let's this is not the one I know of, but this actually looks cool because it's quite similar to Shatien, like literally very much. So it gives us the room to even configure what we want and to make it look exactly the way we want it to. So I'm going to stick to this for now. I haven't used this one before, but like we see, this makes sense. So we can just copy. We have templates we can also use. We have menu, yeah, something like this. But we don't need that on mobile. So yeah, it's not really a good use case for us for now. But then this is basically what we are talking about. This is the alert, right? We can use the alert and configure it to look similar to what we have here as our call out. So something similar, not too crazy, not too different, and basically works as views. So you can see this is an actual React Native application. So let's go back and customize. It says we can customize this. It says version 3 and Shatien UI. There are 4 files involved. Tailwind config.ts. Um, hmm. And this might be an issue, but then we're not going to bother much about this. So what we are going to do first of all is I made some changes to by rebuilding the project, right? So I'm sure some things have changed. So what we need to do is just commit this again and push it. We don't actually have somewhere we have it before, but then we can commit this and we can push it just like we did, right? You can see some of the changes done here. So we have some of this, we have this and this. So I'm just going to commit this. So 20 minutes in, well, for let's get started with the main work we have to do today. So the CLI, we want to do this installation. Okay, let's go to the installation. Where's this? Set up an existing one. Where's the existing one? uh, there's no way to change existing one, is there? Okay, yeah, this is a manual. I didn't even see that. So it says follow the official to add native into your project, update the default inline rem value, change the default. Let's see, what's it complaining about? Timeout. Okay, so let's commit this, right? So we automatically commit the files we have. So if you make changes now, it shouldn't really cost us anything. So I'm going to go back to the CLI and add this manually. So first thing we're going to do is follow the official installation guide to add native Win to our project. So we're going to add native Win first. So what we need to do is look for or go to the native Wind setup flow. So this is how native Wind looks like. This is the official page for native Wind. So we're going to be using this. It's in work with Expo and frameworkless React Native project, all of this. So all we want to do is we want to add that, skip manual setup and use Expo. You can use the following command to initialize a new Expo project with this and CSS. Now installation with Expo, uh, we assume there's already a setup. So in this case, we already have one, right? So we don't need to like reinstall it because, of course, even though we already have Expo set up, we need to add some of these things. So it says we can install that with this, and so we don't want to use this because Expo project with native and theme with CSS. So we are not installing this, right? Because we just want to use this. So installation with Expo. So we just go to the installation page. So let's start with the installation from our current layout. Let's open a new terminal tab and basically add all of this that we have here. So from our current package.json, we can see that some of the things are missing. Like we don't have tailwind here at all for a start. So what we are doing this is so we can know if something fails or if something goes wrong. So we can always revert and go back to the previous or the previous of the initial version we have. And as you can see here, there's already an error occurring here. We can see this, but it shouldn't really be much of an issue, right? Because if the installation goes well, we can always resolve it like we did yesterday. So first thing we see here is F2 router could not be found within the project and these directories. It's refreshing. You can see it refreshing until everything goes well again. Then we continue. So this is still installing. Everything goes well. Should be fine. Hopefully, we should be able to use most of these. Should be able to use all of this. If it doesn't work, we can always revert to our previous implementation and then probably create an actual library that we can use. So in this case now, I think it's currently failing to work. I wonder why that is. It's complaining of Expo router, which is weird. Expo router should be there. I wonder why that is a problem. We didn't really touch Expo router, did we? No, it wasn't modified. So let's see. Why is it complaining of Expo router? Yeah, this is Expo router. It's here. So what's the complaint about? Still complaining of Expo router. Wow, that is weird. Okay, so let's proceed. It's understandable that some of these things might break. So what we need to do is add the tailwind.config.ts functionality, right? So we can run npx tailwind css init, or we can do that the manual way. So let's look at the files that was created for us. If you go to the VCS, we see that nothing changed except for the installation packages. So we go back to this and we go to we don't have tailwind here currently, so we are going to set that up also. We are going to paste, not this. So we're going to paste the tailwind, nps tailwind init also. So once we paste this in, we should it should initialize the tailwind config for us by just creating that tailwind.config file, which is this one. So we are going to modify this by extending it with what we copy from here. Now everything we are doing here is just to set up the native wind because we've not set that up yet. So we'll go back here, add the CSS file. We have to create a global.css file. So I'll assume there's no global.css file already. Yeah, so I'll just search for .css actually. So there's no .css created yet. So what we can do is we can create a directory called from the source. We can create a directory called styles. Directory called styles that will house all our CSS files. So we'll call it style. Yeah, so we'll call it globals .css. So this will be our global file. So we are going to paste the tailwind configurations inside. So from onward, we can replace this with whatever we want to do. So add a Babel preset also. So let's see if we don't have Babel currently. Okay, we do. So we can always add that to it. So what we do is here, we already have Babel preset expo here, which is API cache. Yes, we have this. So what we need to do is add the import source to this, or basically just copy the entire thing we have here and replace this, since it's literally the same thing, nothing too different. Um, we can see this. So that means you've added the native in Babel. Now that's that. So create or modify your metro config also. We need to modify our metro was changed yesterday. Another thing we need to do now is to modify or to use the native. So how does that work for us? We just say metro.config require this. So let's see if the default config is already used. Is imported automatically, which is fine. The metro wind is not imported, so we need to import this first. Now, I'm taking this line by line because you need to be careful. We already have packages in our metro config, so we can't just modify that without being careful. We do not want to break the code any further. Currently, it's not working. We need to fix that, but we want to be sure that everything will work going forward. So we already have this, so there's no need copying that. So the next thing is we have the module export. We export all of this with the global.css. And how do we do that? So we can see here we already have module.export equals to config, and config here already has everything we need. So we need to modify this config dot, or not, basically not that. We just need to wrap it with just need to wrap our config with what's the name again? Native wind, right? So we wrap this with this, and then we specify the input just as it is done here, .global.css. But in this case, our directory is different, right? Our metro is down here, except if we want to move our global directly outside here, but that works, but that might also be a problem. So what we can do first of all is move it outside here to be in the same directory as this. I'm going to move it so that we can test this implementation first. If everything goes well and it works, we can move it back into the style, then add the import, and then change the import path to see if everything goes as planned. So that way we can be sure that, yeah, everything we have makes a lot more sense and then we're good. So that's basically what we're going to do. So doing this now, we should be with native wind is here. So why is it not being used here? Why can it not find it? Oh yeah, I used a different name. Okay, so we have this. So that means this looks okay. Right to my app just suddenly start giving me suggestions all of a sudden. Okay, so we have all of this set up. So the next thing we need to do is test it by importing it to our app.js file. So do we have an app.js file? Currently, nope, we do not have one. So we check our app. What we have is the layout. So we can import it into the layout directly. So that way we just do our import. Okay, yeah, import globals.css basically. So you can see same thing here. So currently that works. You can always change the path later on, like it's like I told you guys. So, and we can always modify the app.json also to make it work the way we want. But here, the last instruction here is switch to the bundler to use the Metro bundler, which let's see if it does. So going back to Expo, we have our app.json file. We have the web bundler. Do we have the web bundler here? Yes, we can see it's using Metro currently, so we don't need to bother about that for now. Now let's try resolving this issue of it not starting. So let's see, does it work? Does it not work? Okay. So let's reopen this on the simulator to see if it works fine. So yeah, it still doesn't work. It still crashes. As attempting to import the module, this which is not listed in the export of this, falling back to file-based resolution. Consider updating the site to call this, and yeah, all of this. So interestingly, we've done this so far. It should work fine, but then we get this issue. So this issue here, I think, stems from our use of It should be from our metro config. That's my best guess, but it depends. It might not actually be from metro config. And one of the reason why I was skeptical using this before is because you're not sure. Anything can go wrong in this kind of situations, especially when it comes to modifying the configurations like this multiple times. It can always misbehave and then cause a lot of issues. And you can see all the configurations that have been done. So how are we sure that this is going to work the way we expect it to? We can't be sure, right? There's no way to be sure. But we just need to try it anyway. We need to be sure that okay, this works well. So what we need to do is looking at the error, it says falling back to file-based resolution, attempting to import the module, the noble hash module crypto.js, which is not listed in the export of. Where is the error coming from? Which file? There's no file name. So this makes it more difficult, right? We see that there's Expo router is unable to resolve from the layout. So we assume that's where it's coming from. So going back to main layout, we believe this is where the error stems from because we can see this makes use of the use router from here, and which use router comes from the Expo router. So I'm going to assume, by assumption, that that is where the error stems from. So there's no way to be sure for now, but it's like one of the best guesses currently. So we are going to try resolving this. There's no context in this case, so we don't need the app.context. Of course, it doesn't really have any doesn't really spoil our code for now or affect it anyway, right? It doesn't really affect it in any negative way. Everything still works as it should. So what we are going to do now is so we're going to remove this, right? And then we are going to proceed from where we are currently. So let's say we have okay, so now let's try resolving the issues because this is the next issue we have here, and this might linger on until you're able to like resolve this. So let's see. Attempting to import the module, this, which is not listed in this, under this requested subpath. But we currently removed this. No, not Babel. Metro config. We removed this the other time and it worked for us. So it shouldn't be a problem at all. Okay, I'm going to stop the server, restart it, change it back to what I have. This happens when you install new packages on Expo normally. Yeah, so it's expected. Even if you're using the Expo Go, like that automatically works without you needing to rebuild. So I'm just going to start Expo start and restart the entire thing to see if it works because yeah, now you can see this works, our configuration works. Natively made with the following changes, or natively made the following changes to your project to support TypeScript, created native wind.env.ts, updated the config to include this. And so we assume everything is fine. So what we need to do is to actually test if native wind is compatible with our application now, which means we start the simulator by pressing I. And nope, it doesn't do that. Now let's find out why the error is occurring. And the first thing we see here is it says building field. The cannot find native worklet plugin. Make sure all Babel plugins and presets you are using are defined in dependencies or dev dependencies of your packages. It's possible you are missing a plugin, that the plugin is loaded by a preset you are using that forgot to add the plugin to the dependencies, and you can use the workaround by adding to the top level of your package. So the problem now is we have this package called React Native Worklet slash plugin, which we do not have. So how do we do that? Okay, so we need to find a way to resolve this currently. First thing we can do is look at if these guys provide any help for that. There might be a troubleshooting. So we go to the troubleshooting first to see if they have like maybe any of that error anywhere that will help us debug it without needing to look for extra errors that do not occur. So now that's the first thing. Let's see. That's basically the whole Troubleshooting they have. Mhm. Styling third-party components. Okay, this doesn't work as I expected to. I was expecting they're going to give us a whole lot more content to work with. All right, so this is what will happen here. In case this doesn't really work as you planned, you can always discard this and implement that using our actual style. But then that is not sustainable for when you're trying to build an application. It does, it is, right? But in order to be able to move fast like we intend to, I don't want to have to create style sheet for everything and then get that to work. So currently we know that the app works. We know that we can create an account by using my email or any user's email, and then you can create your wallet, and that works perfectly well. But that is still not the entire thing because we still have other things we need to be sure works, and that's what we are trying to resolve here. So, how do we set this up? We need to fix this issue as fast as possible, which, if I'm not mistaken, has this error first. It says when working with native in and an NX monorepo, their specific configuration need to ensure proper of this. You use this, then this to make sure it works. Okay. You know what? Let me give AI this. I'm sure this error has come up somewhere. So rather than we looking for it, I'm just going to say, I get this error from one of my terminal from when I built this project. What does it look like? Why is this error here? When I so say I get this error when I start this expo project. Why is this error occurring? So I say this is the error. I remove this and I paste the error here, and let's see what it gives to us before we decide to use another implementation to fix it. So currently I know that all of this is available. I mean, all um the package of JSON, right, has been modified, all the applications have been installed. So we are sure that everything works. I know they gave us that React Native worklet plugin, but do you really want to install the React Native worklet plugin? Right. I feel like we don't need to do that because it's coming from one of the, I'm sure it's one from one of the packages that we installed, but you can't really be sure which package if you do not check. So first thing we need to do, if I'm not mistaken, is we need to add that to the React Native, and I think it's coming from there. I'm not sure entirely, but let's just be sure. So it says native worklet. I expect to your JSON dependencies, but we are not sure if that's going to work or not. So just to be sure, let's just add it. It won't really go wrong. We can't be sure. Um, because you can see React Native and reanimated used here heavily. So that means it works for us, right? We are sure it works. Um, so currently there's no entry here. It's just basic expo. So I wonder why they were setting up entry for that because expo really doesn't use that anymore. Okay, so let's follow the expo. This is what we followed, right? And that was what we did. Created this, we set up this, we set up this, set up literally everything here, and it worked. Oh, this is in the default config. Let's see if that is why we are having this issue. But I don't think that's a problem though, but just to be sure, you can't really be sure. So is using the default config because config is default config. It's just adding some extra stuffs to it. So yeah, that shouldn't be a problem. So let's install the React Native worklet first of all to be sure. Let me see, how do we install that? Be sure we are doing that. Yeah, worklet. React Native worklet. Let's be sure it works and we expect it to. So 4th of December, that allows it to run in parallel. I really feel this will be an issue because yeah, I don't know. We are not using this. We are using the build version. So I'm skeptical about this, like seriously skeptical. This is not going to work, but let's see. I might be wrong. Might be wrong. So let's add the worklets to it. Once we add the worklets, if everything goes well, then it should be fine, right? We already know that we can see it registered native wind, so everything is fine on that part. We just need to resolve the last issue, which is React Native worklet, according to what it says. And so based on what the UI provided, say update the Barbie config to include the worklets plugin. So the question is, how do I added React Native worklet? How do I add updates babel.config.ts to include the worklets plugin? Yeah, so this is basically going to be like your daily mode of work because you are going to be using AI like almost all the time. So I think it's best to get used to it right now if you are not used to it already. So literally, you don't want to waste time creating stuff. You can be faster, a whole lot faster, by just prompting any of the LLMs you use to help you with more stuff. So rather than me thinking of this, I'm not even going to think about it. So I'll just go back to my Babel config and update with this plugin. So I have this, right? And so that's all it asks me to do. So I don't need to go thinking of how I'm going to do it. So let's save this, restart this. Basically going to restart it now because so I'm going to restart the server, and hopefully if everything goes well, we should have our wallet set up with styling so that we know that everybody maintains the same style across, even if we push it to any repo and everybody needs to make use of it or add to it or contribute to it. Fingers crossed everything works well. Please work well, please work well, please work well. Nope, it failed. One more thing. What was the last thing here? Exactly. Now this is the problem I have with this. Unable to resolve this. And this is the main issue I have with this because, yeah, I was expecting this to happen. So I get this error now. Can we resolve this? So these are the challenges you face normally. And then the reason why I'm doing this without solving it myself before coming to this call is simple. I want us to build this like we are building it. If you are in a work setting where you have to work with colleagues and stuff, and probably there's a deadline and you need to do it, how do you think through resolving the issues? How do you make decisions? And even if you're not in a position of leadership, how do you think to make decisions to solve it? Because in this case now, that's very what I'm doing. Yesterday we decided to use Alchemy. We had issues. We knew Alchemy was going to help us. We decided to continue. We could not skip or change it. So we needed to do it. We fixed it. We got the errors. We got fixed it, found a way to fix it. We did everything we needed to do. And that was all we did. So now let's look at this one to see if we can fix this. So the next thing is this verified native win dependencies resolution. The issue is that this is missing, which is dependency that should be known with this, but might not probably resolved. So it should exist automatically, but for some reason it doesn't exist. So he says what you need to do is verify the dependencies, which I have done. He said details this situation or solution. This as an explicit dependency, or fix your Babel configuration to add. My Babel configuration is perfectly correct. Babel preset, native in Babel. I literally need this. If it was even given by Babel, that's not even the problem. So let's go to the metro and see how we can solve it. So as I was saying, right, so this is just a way of testing. How can you do this? If you're in a work setting, you're working with teams or colleagues and stuff. How do you guys make decisions? How do you reconcile this if you have it out? Obviously, you want to build everything from start to finish, but if you're part of the process of starting it from this and you know that you are constrained on the libraries you're about to use and stuff. Of course, I can do all of this, come here and say, oh, I use this, I use this, I use this, and I push it. But then you don't get to see the behind the scenes, right? So these are the behind the scenes that we see almost every time we try to make something work that's not been done or that is rarely done. So let's just enjoy this, and until we get this fixed, then we'll just proceed and fire on building and adding features, buttons. The UI shouldn't be a problem, right? Functionality first, or setup first, functionality next, then UI. That's the way it tends to be for every project I do. So Let's proceed. So from this, we have the updates this, which is the config resolver.alias, which I believe is here somewhere. Alias. Oh, so there's no alias at all. Wow. Okay, so there's no alias here. So I need to add this. No, I'm going to add this first. It's quite interesting to see that the one that gives this issue most is the layout from, not the actual layout, is the layout within or inside of the main that is registered for the app to load directly. So which is just the part that renders the first screen. That's the one we're talking about. So yeah. Okay, so let's try this again. Still the same thing. So interoperability, I haven't installed it. Probably have to install it to see if it works well. These are just risks I'm taking because we literally have fixed this to work, but now we need a CSS solution or a library that handles our UI for us. If this doesn't work, I can always switch it to another one. It's not really a problem. Just want to try to be sure that yeah, we get what we are trying to do to work. And once that is safely done, then we can proceed. So I'm going to restart this server since I've installed something new. I'm going to run this again, mpx expo start. What did I do? mpx expo start. Let's see if it works. I don't guarantee it's going to work, but then I might be surprised and I might be wrong. Seems like it's going to work. Wow. Okay, it didn't work. All right, so we're able to resolve this from app layout. So that issue is fixed. Now let's see if we can resolve the last one, which is the layout issue, because yeah, this is wrong. So it's supposed to solve it from here. So let's see if our path was actually wrong. The path we used for this is supposed to be, because this is inside the app module, right? And if I'm not mistaken, it's supposed to go out to string, doesn't exist. Jeez. Error boundary of undefined. React Native animated. All right, this is a weird error, and I think I understand where the error is coming from. So the error is coming from here. So we have this global the CSS. I'm going to remove that first of all. I'm going to remove that globals, and I'm going to restart this. See if it works. This is downloading everything. Again, still the same error doesn't exist from layout 5.1, which is from React Native animated. Yeah. So going back to Metro, I'm going to remove this alias configuration we added. Yeah, still the same thing. Okay, so we're back to resolving errors again today. This actual development works. It's not always smooth, so just bear with it as we proceed. It's not always smooth, trust me. So I'm going to remove this from this really. I'm going to add it to the main. Let's see. Yeah, TS config have config. Do we have oh yeah, we have art inside of it to navigate directly to the art symbol. And then we have the same thing for this. For the table config works for component just work for component, doesn't work for mhm, doesn't work for source. Is this even valid? This doesn't look valid. That contains native V classes. The native V classes should be inside app literally. Like everything that contains that is inside of app should register that. Wow, that's so weird. So everything contained inside of app, not component. So it should be source component, then app, which which is fair. Uh, JS, JSX, TS, TSX. I just feel like this configuration feels wrong, or the entire configuration feels wrong, and the documentation doesn't do justice at all to what you're supposed to have. It just feels a bit shitty. Okay, time to make a very harsh decision. I'm going to definitely remove the entire thing. I'm not impressed. I'm not impressed with native wind documentation to set up this. It looks weird. It doesn't look solid. Is this a version 5? Okay, this is version 4, so it doesn't look solid. The fact I keep getting errors for this to set up something that should exist, well, it's just a whole lot of terribleness. Other bundlers. All right, I think I'll go from that solution entirely. This is using native wind. So it would have been nice if you can get this to work, but then unfortunately, it doesn't. Probably pick another UI library to work with. I believe there should be lots more that we can work with and we can get it working. So let's see what we can use here. Okay, so for I really wish native wind will work here. Jeez. Okay. Yeah, we have to fix this. Anyhow, either we remove that or we add new features to it, but we definitely have to get it out somehow. So that's basically what we are going to do. We have to get it out somehow. Let's see how we can get this out. So after adding this to it, we have okay. How about we so after I remove the tailwind the configuration from there, include all of this, include the native wind d.ts, the types, this. Mhm. So the alias we removed, we can actually add it inside of here. Since it works, we can add it to So this will be uncommented. We are going to call this React Native without the at. Interrupt. Part of resolve this. The crazy thing is PMPM, the way PMPM handles this might be a bit different for the node modules. So this might be a problem, just to be sure. Okay, it does look okay. So I'm going to do this, then slash source slash index.js. I'll probably just leave it as index.ts, but it will be converted to .js. So we know that's going to happen. So no issue. So remove this. Let's see, does it work? Okay, npm export starts. Then we have this. We have was errors now. So the file is not watched. This is not ensure it is read under and configure project root or watch folders. Check block list. Okay, so that means we don't need it. So I definitely have to remove it. It's not needed. That's why. Okay, so comment that out. Run this. Shouldn't be a problem anymore. No. Don't open the editor. Oh no. Shush. So run that. And run this. Yeah, same thing. Okay. So this is what we're going to do. I'm going to revert the entire thing because I don't want it to, it's already delaying what we plan to do, and that is not actually the intention for today. I know this is another way we can help this. I don't know if this will work, but we know this is also something we can create. But this also has its own way of installing it, installations and stuffs that we don't have. I can always use this because it doesn't really add anything different to it. But let's see. Real native primitives, shared primitive, where's installation? Do I just need to install it? Obviously not. I need to have some things. Rn primitives. Okay, I think this should be it. Primitives.com, and let's see what we get from there. Literally the same site. How do I? There's no installation, nothing, just that. Okay. All right, so let's do this then. Since this is looking like the same thing, and there's no point doing any stressful thing. I'm going to go back to this, and this looks weird, but then hopefully it works. I really don't think it's going to. Well, let's try it out. Let's add the first thing. Let's add the button to it. Oh yeah, I forgot this doesn't have a button.
17 hours.
Oh, we spent an hour already. No. I was hoping we can get this done before. Now it's done. Okay. Now what? I'm going to revert everything here that was done so far. revert the entire thing. So add this to VCS first, then you revert the entire thing. Local copies of other files here. Okay. So we start the server. Something needs to be installed again. What was it changed to? So that means it was changed. And that was what caused the issue. Probably should have checked this before even reverting it, but fine, all well and good. So just get this installed, all the packages to be installed. Currently, they are not being installed, so you just ensure they are all installed. And I know most of them are not on their latest versions, right? Before we start working with latest versions, let's even be sure that the project is back on and is opened as it should. So I'm just going to restart this since I just installed new packages. The fact that this cannot even resolve Expo router. Why can't you resolve Expo router? Like, what's that's literally your main job. So weird. Okay, I think we are back. Yes. So all well and good. We are back to where we were before. Now let's proceed. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make some changes. Yes, I'm going to make changes. Definitely. I'm going to make some changes to make it look to revert to the new versions. That might be the problem with some of the things we don't have, and see if they work for our use case. Currently, I'm going to change it from Expo 52 to Expo 54. First things first, I don't know if this is going to work. I'm skeptical. Yes, I might break the entire thing, but it's part of it. So build properties is on 1 latest. Expo constant is on 18. Dev client is on 6. Expo fonts. So 14. So I'm basically updating all the packages, right? Expo linking 8. Expo router. This is one of the packages I'm very scared to touch. 6, because I don't know, anything might just break. 31. How is this from 0.6 to 31? Like, that's a good drastic. What libraries was installed when they were creating this? That's so weird. Let's put system UI. Okay. Web browser 15. Node libs React Native, same thing. React 18. Actually, I want to do this because that means I have to take it to React 19. Of course, React 19 is more, it has a lot more features, and I think the whole bridgeless architecture is now enabled by default, and all of those things. But do I want to do all of this? Do I really want to do all of this? Yeah, it don't really change anything. Let's try it out. I can't lose anything from this. But I think this requires React 19, so I'm going to install React 19 just to be on the safe side. It doesn't really change anything. React Native is this is the one I'm scared of too, because okay, you know what? I'm going to do it. It doesn't matter. React Native config this React get random values. So 2. This I think is increased a bit. Yeah, still the same thing. Okay. MMKV, I don't really care about MKV. We're not using that for now. Reanimated is fine. Save area context has been increased. React Native screens latest is increased. Native web has also increased, if I'm not mistaken. 0.2. Stream browser verify, same thing. So yeah, we don't really have much other things to worry about. Work needs to remain the same. On 3. Okay, that's cool. But I'm not making any change to the core packages. I'm just going to leave that as it is. So 2 things I'm going to do. First of all, I'm going to npm hi, like I have here, and install all of this. Obviously, this is going to cause a problem. We need to restart the server, test it out. I'm just trying to see if everything works now, because we are using the MIS compiler. And the MIS compiler in this case is the one that comes with React 19 and some other new features. So the package we installed is quite old. It's a bit old. It's older than the one we used before. So, but this time around, we can use the newer versions, right? So That is what we want to try to see. And then maybe using the newer versions will make it work the way it's expected to work. So, so I think let's just try it out, right? Because I feel like a lot of things will not be available for us if we do not try this early on when we are still like setting up the project. So while setting up the project, you make a lot of changes and breaking changes to be sure that while you are building on it, you can limit whatever breaks. That's basically how it's going to be. So yeah, so I'm not really bothered about breaking things at this early stage because now we know that our app is open. We've tested the first feature, which is signing with user, and that works perfectly well. So we've been able to cover that important aspect. Next thing left is just how do we send transactions. The main thing is out of the way. Using your email to create your account has been done. And once that is successfully done, every other thing is just an addition to it. In terms of sending transactions, you require your wallet, making it I don't really want to bother about Zustand. If I see Zustand issues, I'm going to Zustand. I don't want it. Did I install Zustand? Did I update it? MMKV. Yeah, I did. No, I didn't. I left it. Yes, because I didn't want it. What am I missing here that I should have installed? This complaints. Zustand complaints. It's on latest. Okay, no, almost. It says first things first. Install the polyfill and the middle polyfill this in Bebe preset to use the syntax. Oh, that's what Sustan 5.0. Yeah. Okay. All right. All right. This is descriptive enough. So let's do that. We need to enable the polyfill unstable import method. I don't know what is going to be there, but let's see. So we need to add that to Babel preset expo. So you know what? I'm going to give this to AI to just suggest the stuff, the answers. Of course, we know that AI is going to help us find it. So there's no point wasting time trying to add it. I'll just copy the right stuff. Okay, so I say so so I get this error from my logs when I run start this expo project. This is the error. So we ask this question, we get a solution from it. What is happening? Why is the send button not working? Okay, so we ask this question. Obviously, we need to add it to our metro config based on the error we see here. Babel preset, right? We have to add the Babel config. So from our Babel config, we need to add it here somewhere. So probably we need to add it to, I don't know. It says we should add the unstable transform import meta in Babel preset expo to use the syntax. So let's just use how AI suggests what it should look like. So okay, yeah, this is what I want. So add it to this to make it true inside of the preset. And yeah, we should have this. Nothing too crazy though, if I'm not mistaken. Why does it look this way? Let me break this. Do we install Prettier? No, we need to install Prettier here. I can't be dealing with stuff like this manually. Makes no sense. Okay. All right. So we have the presets Babel like this. And literally the same thing. Oh, see, this looks wrong. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to copy this because it's literally the same thing. Yeah, this looks a bit better. I know there's an extra one there. And do we even need to stand here? Well, it was installed for us, so I'm not going to complain. I'm not going to remove it. We need it for state management, yes, because this stand basically is for state management. But since it has already been installed and it worked till this point, we are just going to make sure it works. We're just going to fix it. Nothing else. Just fix it. So I'm going to stop the server, restart the server, and see if it works. But I'm still not going to remove the user stand. I want to find a way to fix it because we need it for state management. And if it has been configured already for us to use, then it should work fine for our use case. Work. Please work. Work. Please work. Did it fail? Did it work? I don't even know. Nothing is showing right now. It's bundled, but it's not showing anything. So I don't know if it's fine. I don't know if it's failed. It doesn't seem to fail. It doesn't give any errors. No error on the logs. No error on the mobile simulator. Get the server is not a function. It is object. Wow, this is strange. What does that mean? That's so weird. Okay, it's still downloading at 0% and 100%. So let's restart this. Loading from Metro, building, downloading. Wow. Okay. So this is strange. So there's no error actually, but it doesn't come up after we installed all the packages. I'm just going to assume that some things have changed in terms of like the whole um, configuration, right? Which I don't even understand what changed. But there's no error, none. But is it working? Absolutely not. Is it failing? Nope. Then what is happening? I have no idea right now. It seems to be working. It seems to be not working at the same time. But there's no error. There's no log. There's nothing to determine if something breaks or not breaking right now. So this is extremely weird. Yep. This is telling me to update this or what? I just installed all the packages. What's the problem again? Literally just hitting it. Why did you? Okay, that's fine. Let's do this again. See what we get. Stop the server. Restart the server. Is this an issue from the simulator? Is this an issue from the new version of whatever we installed? I literally don't even know at this point. Still the same thing. Okay, there's a bit of a problem here. We need to find a way to resolve this as soon as possible. So my first guess is the React versions, but it's not failing. So it's quite difficult to just. I don't want to assume that's a problem, and I don't want to assume that's not the KVA for also stand because it's already been solved. It's already been solved, so that shouldn't be a problem for any reason right now. So, okay, probably the types. Oh my god, what did I do? What did I do? The Babel core has been increased. Babel runtime. Okay. Account infra, account signer, account this 4.82. They are all on 4.82 now. Only the signer is on 4.82 based on my calculations. Yeah. So we're back to this error we got yesterday, falling back to 5 base this. So something has to do with one of the packages right now. So now it's giving something that we can work with. At least now we know that there's a problem from somewhere, which has to do with the packages we installed. So that's fine. So what we need to do next is restart this. So we get a proper error or a proper issue that we can then resolve. Because currently there's nothing to resolve. Everything seems fine. But then I know it's not fine. So once we get the error, then we know how to proceed. So it's just about debugging and finding issues and then fixing it. And if we can get this to work successfully, then we can proceed with whatever we want to do. But like I said, we already have a blueprint of what we are trying to build, right? Of the UI we want to emulate to build or to use for our wallet in this case. So say if that is out of the way, it's not really an issue. That those basically are just components that we had from here to here, move here, pass props, and all of those things. That should be fast enough. So we just need to make sure our setup are well done. Okay, I'm going to restart this. I don't like what is happening here. I just hope I don't need to have to build this again because that will not make sense. That's always a delay when you have to do that build and build and build. I think I might need to rebuild because I've installed a lot of different packages. No. All right, I'll be doing that here. So this is what I'm going to do. Hmm? Just to make sure that this we do not waste more time on this. We can do this. And what I mean by we can do this is um, we can work with what we have currently. All I need to do is just revert this. It's just three lines, it's just three files. I'll just revert that, move back to my previous checkpoints. Everything should be back to the way it was before. The app gets started. I find a way to make use of it, and then we move from there. So because currently, like I said, there's no error anywhere. Like everything is fine. You can see bundled fine. There's an entry point that runs perfectly well, which is green, but it gets stuck at the splash screen. Or if I'm not mistaken, I think I know what the problem is. Rather than going back, let's go to the splash screen and see. Does it have anything to do with this guy? Because splash screens don't just be the issue. Prevent auto height sync. Okay, you know what? To be sure everything works, to be sure it loaded this, we're going to console or log here. Layout entry file. So we are going to add this here. I'm going to add something here. I'm just going to leave it like this, layout entry file, because there's nothing to pass to it. And I'm going to restart this. And then I'm going to see if there's something else that needs to be added or not added, restored or not. And then we're going to see if it works. Get dev server is not a function, it is object. I think this is where the error is coming from. The runtime is not ready. Okay. No, so it has nothing to do with that. Simply because it doesn't get started. It takes a lot more time to start up. I think that's the problem. Okay, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to pick one of the projects I have here, see what I need to do, see the configuration that was added, because this is a very modern, latest, it uses the latest stuff here. So I'm just going to pick this, use some of the stuffs I see here. This one has all the configurations completely implemented, nothing too crazy, but just well implemented. We can see the metro, the global here, global.css defined, right? And then the babel.config also is defined, which is fine. And then the app.json is also defined, which we are not using for much. Then the metro is where I want to see. So the metro has all of this, which we using. Oh, I think this works. Yeah, we can use crypto for that. So I think that I can borrow this. I can borrow this and go to my metro file. Okay, I think I'm running a lot of stuffs. It's beginning to affect the way my system works or moves. Okay, crowd crypto browser verify. Okay, fine. I'm not going to tamper with that. I'm going to go back to this place. This is not what I came here for. So I see require this with Uniwind, with this, add this configuration, CSS entry file, this here, this, which is the globals and all of this. It's similar to what we did, but didn't work. So I was looking for something, and that has to do with how we configure our React to the experimenter. I think let me look for experimenter here. That's experimenter. We have it somewhere. I think it's defined by default. Okay, yeah, revert compiler true and that. So I think I might need to update my app.json file. Yeah. Okay. That might not do anything. It might not, it might make it worse, it might make it better. It doesn't really matter right now, but we are still in the process of setting up. Once we are successfully done, we have a very good stable structure of what we want it to do, how we want it to behave, then we can proceed. Let's see if there will be errors now. Hopefully. What if there are no errors? Okay, say I said hopefully here because I don't know what to do. If there's no error and it doesn't show, then if there are errors, you know what to solve. If there are no errors, you're kind of stuck. You can see downloading 100% and it doesn't download it. So I don't know where we need to check that from. Another thing here is okay. I need to close this other one. I have opened. I don't need it. It's just going to keep taking system resource. Okay, so this is what that looks like. So let's go back to our layout that we created the control log file. So do we have that here? Do we have the layout? No, it doesn't even load that at all. So most likely it hasn't even loaded anything to memory yet. We have compiler enabled, starting metro bundler. Yeah, everything seems fine. Okay, so there are still no errors here too. Mm-hmm. Okay, you know what? I really don't want to waste time on this. More than what we've done so far. All right, so let's do this. Let's go back and remove all of this. Let's roll back again. Rolling back, we restart the server again. I was trying to update the package. I'm going to do this, right, but not on this call. So what I want us to do first of all for a start is to get started initially. Then I'm going to make that tweak like after this call, see if I can get it to update and rebuild. But rebuilding is going to take time, so I don't want us to do it on the call now. So I'm going to just restart this. Hopefully, this is the problem. But if this is not the problem, then we know it has to be the simulator. But I'm hoping that is not the issue here. So once this is done, and let's restart the simulator and let's see if it works. What I could have done was to like add that to a branch, then revert to the main branch and stuff like that. That would have made more sense. Create a new branch and stuff. I don't even know why I had to revert it or roll back. That's very that's quite terrible. Okay, so as you can see here, it still doesn't work. So it was actually the simulator, and everything I did, the configuration and all is now gone. Okay, now what I'm going to do, I'm going to restart this. Feels like this is failing, extremely failing. So I'm basically going to restart the simulator to see if that should fix the problem. So from one issue to another issue, no. Well, this always happens when you're trying to set up your project before you get started. It's normal. It's practically normal. So when you encounter stuff like this, when you're working, just know that it's normal. It's something that you encounter, but it's part of the learning process. You learn this. This is what you learn. These are the experience you gain before you can like beat your chest and say, "Oh, I can do this anyway. I have the experience to do this." These are what we refer to experience in the tech space. Ability to fix these bugs and issues like this. I think I've successfully spoiled all of this, or the package needs to be reinstalled. Yeah, that's just it. Package needs to be reinstalled because we messed up all the packages. So I get carried away trying to make sure everything works. When I'm trying to set up my project, I always want to have a proper setup because having a proper setup is like one of the best things you can do for yourself when you work. You literally fix a lot of issues going forward because you know that you have a solid foundation to build on. If you do not have that, it will always come back to bite you. I've had a lot of issues like that where you have to restart the project because something is missing and you cannot install what you need on top of that thing, or there are compatibility issues and stuff. So it's always good to have decide what you want to do for your project from the onset. Then from there, you know that okay, this is what I'm expecting, this is what should work, this is what will not work. What is this issue we are facing again? Like we should not even be facing this. We didn't install anything new. So I still feel like that issue we had then has to do with React Native, the new version of React Native, actually. That's what I believe. But oh, finally, we're back. So now we're back with this. So enough of tweaking, enough of customization. Let's just do something now. Remember, we have our view that we're trying to work with, which is this view, right? Just me to sign up again. So we're trying to work with this view. This is what we're trying to create. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm not going to remove this for now. Or I'm going to tweak some of the things that we have here. Create like an avatar here that we can use. So I think we can use that to make it look a bit reasonable. Okay, so I'm going to install this. I'm going to say npx export this primitive avatar. So we should be able to use this avatar component to work with our code base. And so these are how we're going to make use of it. So I'm just going to create this. I'm going to copy all of this into. So I'm going to copy this. So currently, I feel like everything is fine. We don't have any issues. So I'm going to close everything we don't need. I'm going to leave only the sign in. I'm going to close all the other files, right? So we have a lean workspace to work with. So the next thing I'm going to do is, this is the sign-in page, or this is the home page, if I'm not mistaken. That's the index page, right? The index page should contain the welcome. Where is it? Yes, this. So we have the welcome here. So this is the index page. So what I want to do is to add what we just copied from here. I'm going to copy the other primitive stuff, and I'm going to add it here to see if it works. And I'm going to copy the rm primitives avatar from here. I'm going to install it here, see if it works. Copy the GitHub URI, add it here, see if it works. And yeah, we're good to go. So hopefully, fingers crossed, if everything works here, then we should see an avatar showing up here. Could not be found within the project. All this. So I think now again I need to is installed. Yeah, this is it. This is the new installed version. So what I need to do is to restart this. Whenever we reinstall a new thing, we restart that and see if it works. Well, at least you guys can see now that we have that. So what, like, as you can see on the screen, what I have is my email that created the wallet address for me and the organization ID. So don't worry about the organization ID. You don't really need that. So we don't bother about that for now. So let's do this. Let's reload this. Does it work? Please work. We know we are done with this, then we'll proceed. We still have about 30 minutes to create something. We can create something beautiful in 30 minutes. I'm sure. I believe it. What happened? Come on. Why are you all white? Show me something, for crying out loud. Oh no. Okay, so it's working. It doesn't give an error. It's just there. Just gives me refreshing, and that's all. Very good. Okay, so we have our welcome again. The avatar does not show anywhere. It's supposed to display immediately after this separator, this divider or the separator that we have here, but it doesn't show. So yeah, literally something is wrong there. So like I said, what we are going to do, this is my email. I'm going to actually close this email because I feel like it's too exposed. Everybody knows my email right now. Actually, that's just my dummy email. It's not real. So yeah, it's just a dummy one. So that's a dummy email that I use to create an account, right? And then I can set up or log out of that one. And you have this that doesn't even work. That doesn't load the file, doesn't give an error, doesn't do anything, just stays there. And doesn't show anything as well. So what else can we do now with all the information we have here, especially from all of this? So one of the first things we can do, and based on what we have understanding of here, is we can modify this to look a bit more aligned with what we want, and that is working with the alchemy documentation, right? So we know we've configured all of this. What do we need also? We need so these are the hooks that are available for us to use. Use accounts, use OAuth provider, use our passkey. We can do all of those things. So now what do we want to do? Looking at our reference, which is this is our reference. First thing we need to do is we need to have a tab, right? So what I'm going to do is to use AI to create all of this. Now we need components since we are going to be creating this, and we don't want to reinvent the wheel using this. So we need components. And we know that for some reason we are not able to use all of these libraries that we hoped to use. We wanted to use all of these libraries to recreate the functionality since we can get the button that looks like this for us, but now we can't get the button anymore because it doesn't work for us. And we can't customize it because it doesn't work for us. And all of those nonsense that happened while we are trying to get this to work. This would have been an easy way to move faster. But now that we can't do this, what we can do is we can recreate our own menu, our own components that we're going to use in terms of buttons and all of those things. But it's not sustainable at the end of the day. But that's what we're going to stick with for now until I'm able to resolve this, and then we can then reuse them. Okay, so what else? What else? What else? What else? Okay, so now let's get started with this. Let's display the let's first thing first. This is the account, right? We don't have an account, but we have this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a shorten address function. Let's see if you have something like this. Shorten address across the file. So we don't have any function like that, any functionality that helps us to shorten our address. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pick one. I have literally different types. So I'm going to pick one from any of this. I'm going to look for shorten address. I'm going to pick shorten address. Yeah, so I'm just going to pick this utility here. So this is also another React Native project, but I'm using a different UI library here. Probably going to use the same UI library as I have here. The one I'm using here is called Hero UI Native. It's actually new, but it looks more usable, especially with new frameworks. So that's why I'll try to sort all of those things out before we have our part 3 of the series because we need to complete this. So let's go back to this. I'm going to copy some of the things I need here, which is going to be capitalized and stuff. So I'm going to use just these two. I don't need to capitalize because CSS can do that for me, but get the idea. It can be used in other functions that are not CSS based. So I'm going to create that in an utility file, utils.tsx. So I'll create a new, okay, we have utils already. So I'm just going to create one and call it index. um, index. So I'm going to paste this inside of here. It doesn't require any library import. So just basically get the string and add it to it. So what we're going to do now is go back to the index page and make use of that to shorten our account address. Shorten address is going to be this, so we don't see the full address. So I haven't imported it, that's why. So I import this and all of a sudden we have all that we need. So you can see this automatically shortened for the light address. So we can do the same thing for the user address as well. This is telling me that it doesn't exist. So we can always, because the string that is fast has to be, is not optional. Because if you look at the definition of the index, you can see it's taking a string and we are checking for if it exists of string. And that way we can do it is just say if string address rather, like this. Then if not address, we can return null or something like that, like this. And this fully resolves that issue if we want to fix that bug. That's another way, but I don't want to do it that way. So I'm just going to leave it like that. So we can shorten our address. So I'm going to copy some of the utility files I use there. And I'm going to like shorten it and bring it over here to this new project. You can see this doesn't give errors. You can see this works automatically. So we shorten our address similar to what we have here. So this that I have here contains a lot of stuff. I'm going to start with creating like the component itself that I use. So one of the first things I'm going to do is I'm going to go here. I'm going to close this. I'm going to open another one that has some of the main things I need in terms of the layout file, the way it's structured, and all of those things. So I'm going to go here and go to scan dev. Now this one contains some of my. I have a page container, page section. Yeah, this one. So this contains all I need for the layout I want to use for the whole page from start to finish. So this contains a lot of things that we can use. In fact, we can literally pick some of the things from here and use it inside of those places, and it works perfectly well. So, but basically, this is what I'm going to copy. I'm going to copy the page section. I'm going to add it to this is inside my component, right? This is, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, component. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to add it inside the component here, page section. Literally page section. So page section works by just giving you access to the layout that you want to use. But the crazy thing here is that this one uses CSS and Tailwind. Although I have Tailwind set up for this React Native project, it's not going to work. So that's where the first problem starts from. So that's where the first issue is going to start from. As you can see here, we do not have any of this. We have that for this project. We have all of this set up. We have the component text. So if I show you what I mean here, you see from the UI, you can see I have this. And the reason why I'm using this is because I'm using React Native reusables, which is similar to where's that? Yeah, we are using this. I just don't know why this is not working for me. Like it's supposed to work. I'm struggling to understand why it's not working here. Honestly. But then to looking at the Babel config, you can see all I needed was just Babel for this one rather. For the config, we needed just native wind, similar to what we had. Nothing too crazy, nothing too different. And for the Babel, it was just to add the React Native plugin, and that's just to add it like this, to add it like this, and everything was fine. But this time around, it's refusing to work. Okay, we had an index.js here, which we used as our entry point for the file. And I think we had an app.js here too. JS, do I? No, we don't. But we had an index.js, which kind of like did all the registration for the expo and all of those things. So, yeah. All well and good. So this is what we have here. So the package.json for this too, the expo version. So things I've learned time. So back to what we are doing, we can't use this one I just copied. We can't really use it. So I'm going to delete it because there's a lot of things we need that we can't get. So back to this, I'm going to retain only the sign up that we have. I'm going to retain the index that we have, because the sign up, then the light account has been removed. So what we need to do is because we want to make it a dark mode, complete dark mode functionality. Oh my god, I need a team so bad because we need to create all of this. Now, if you're not using Teams, but you know what we are going to do is we won't really bother about it, like light mode and dark mode functionality. We're just going to start with the setup basically of this. So we're going to um, proceed with creating all of this, right? Basically, just kind of like using them for what we want. So more like a dummy data, then we update it with more functionalities. So remember that we also need some pages from this. We need some pages. This is the home page. We need the account page that displays account. You're able to create new address, able to import wallets by private key or seed phrase, depending on what you want with full functionality. And I showed you guys this yesterday, right? I showed you the wallet I built. So this is a wallet I built um for you to use literally so that you don't need to use your wallet where you have your funds on any site you test mostly, because the point is that when you connect to most sites sometimes a lot of the website online now are scamish websites. I know people close to me, about 8 to 10 of them, that all through last year they were just losing funds for no just cause. Even one of my friends had to call me. I was like, oh, I lost all my savings for the year. And it was just so sad because I know these guys will not just connect to anything. They are careful. But you can't really prove that. You can't really be careful when you have to connect to different things because you are using your wallet. Even if you are careful enough, you don't know what could be already written to any website you go to. It might be hacked, it might even be like it might not be the website itself that is a problem, but then there are people watching it and already having what to do with your wallet and all of the private keys that are there exposed. So that was why I built this, so that you know that this is strictly for explorations, for testing, for development. You can use it to explore the Web3 space without fear of being hacked because your actual funds are kept in a safe place. This is what you want to use every single time. And you can see this is me using it. I use it a lot for some of the things I do. So whenever I want to navigate through anything, I'm not even sure if the website is valid or not. I just use this to connect to any site. And then there are a lot of chains you can use. You can get it. It's available on the Chrome store. Just search for Wallet Pro on the Chrome store, and then you can install it and make use of it. It's available on the Chrome store. Just search for Wallet Pro. Wallet Pro. That's all. And it works. So this is what we are working with. So we want to get the balance of this. First of all, we want to get the balance. We want to get the chain first. So we need to create different chains because now we don't have any chain we are making use of or using at the moment. So what we need to do is go back to the what they call it, go back to the documentation. So the documentation is important because we want to know what to use. What do we do with all of these things we have? How do we get the balance? Because currently there's no balance here. But like I said, we're not going to be writing all of this. You can see how they got some of the things here. You can see there's a client here. There's a client here we use to get the smart account client, which is what you can see here too. Use smart account client. Now, the use smart account client here is what you use as your entry point to almost everything you want to do. You can see that it's similar to what we've defined here, right? You specify the type to be modular V2. Let's see if it's typed. Yeah, it's actually typed. So you can have multiple owners for your account. But in this case, we are not creating a light account. We are creating a modular account. That's why we have this modular account version 2. There's a multi-owner light account. There's a multi-owner modular account. This is if you want to implement multiple signers. So let's say you want to have this account created that will allow you to be maybe you want to create a multi-sig for this account. It's possible, and that multiple people should be able to sign it for organization purposes. We have whatever we're trying to build, like I said, already has some enterprise grade setup behind the scenes that we don't need to worry about because of course we don't want to start worrying about security when we are building our mobile app. Of course, that's like the last thing we want to worry about for now because it requires people with very high security standards to actually audit these things we use. But this SDK we are using has been audited multiple times, so we can be sure and we can be rest assured that it works. So which is why I'm going for this, like I said. So there are other things we can use in this case. Looking at this, you can see what we can use, modular account V2. So if you want to understand more about this modular account V2, we will see the changes as we go on. Yeah, they're just they are the account types that we can use that Alchemy provides for us. We are going to talk about this more. I just wanted to create something that we can be sure that okay, we have our mobile account set up. So this is just the prerequisite. We've not gone deep into creating stuff. So what I want to do is I will copy this out. Okay, this I'm not copying this out because this is a hook I want to use across board. So going back to our before proceed with this, let's go back to this layout. This layout has Zoom. This already has our provider, which is this. You can see that the provider is already there by default, which is the query client we are using React query for. Okay, it's used by Alchemy by default, so we already know that. So we have that and we have the children. So everything we are using right now should automatically provide us access to what we have from the clients too. So going by this understanding that we have here, I'm going to close this. So coming back to this, the index. Now we can use this client to pick whatever we want. So this client also gives us access to the address, right? So it gives us access to the address. So now let's see what we have. So this address here is also what. So I'm going to create a text. I'm going to create okay, inside this view, I'm just going to create a text and call it I'll call this text so I'm going to get the address that we just created. There's this address here. As you can see, the address is the same thing as this light account address. You can see this is it up here. Let me bring it down. You can see it's 015 this. So the size is actually small. Let's see if you can improve the size. You can't use styling. You can't use you can't use the class names now. You have to use the proper styles. So we know what I'm just going to do. I'm going to duplicate one that already works. I'm going to duplicate a style from this one since we already have a name. I'm going to call this client. I'm going to call this client address. So I'm going to call it client address. So client address you can see here is 152 and 34 CE. So it's basically our light address. So that's what we have. You can see from here account address. So that makes sense. So we have address available to us. We have is loading client available to us. So this is just for us modifying the state. We can use that to define the state. So we can have a spinner if it's loading. We can do stuff like if no, let's do it this here. Let's do it after here. So if nope, yeah, that should come before the user, right? So if client like this, so if client, what we just need to do is we can return an activity indicator like this, and the activity indicator is just going to be something like the size. We call it large. We don't need that. We can just leave it like this. So if it doesn't exist, right? So we need to move this up here. So that means why this is still working. If this is you can see this spinner here. This is what I'm trying to do. So that means the activity loading here, but this is wrong because I said if the client show the activity loader just to show you guys the activity loader, right? So what I'm going to do is to if not client or if is loading is what I'm going to use. So I'm going to set up is loading here. It's loading client. If it's loading client, then it's going to stop now. So anytime it's loading the client, it's going to show this indicator first of all. So we can put the indicator inside a view and give it something like this and say things like loading and create a view, a text. I'm going to create a view with styling. I'm going to call it flex one. I'm going to say justify, okay, align items center, justify content center. Then basically these are the first two things I'm going to do just to keep it in the center. Then I'm going to now read this. I'm going to do it like this so you see the changes we've made. So you can see now it's positioned in the center here, automatically in the center. So we don't need to do any of those stuff. So but then I want to have a text added to it, something like this text. Page is loading. Or let me say initializing the app for you to just to give you a personalized message. So it's just going to give that. So what we can have this also, we can have gap, and gap is going to be like 4 just to keep it not too far apart. Then we're going to have styling. So we're going to have style as text. What is it? Text. I'm not sure. Font size is 16 just to give it that big size. And font weight, I'm going to give you the font weight. Font weight is 600 just to make it bigger, as you can see here. So I'm making 500. I'm not a bit too good. Yeah, makes more sense. So we're going to increase the gap here from 4 to 8. We can also make it 16, and that works. So these are just basic stuff you can add to it. I'm just showing you guys how this setup is going to work. But I don't want to have to write all of these styles multiple times. Is why I was trying to set up a CSS that we can use to just add a tailwind like stuff to it. So if this is loading, this is what we always see when the client is loading. But so far so good. The client is not loading, so we are good to go. So let's see how can we get balance. So what does client provide to us aside from the address? What else does the client provide to us? Can we get the user balance? Let's see if that is possible. So I don't know what client provides to us. We know, right? But let's assume we don't know. What does the user account client provide for us? We know this where's the hook again? Yeah, this is the hook, right? So this automatically defined in this, the parameter, the type is this, the parameter is the argument of the smart type. What does it provide for us? What is the return value, right? We need to get those things. So we need to get that. How do I get the default value from here? Oh my God, this documentation. Okay, no, let's just check it from here. Since it's fully typed, we should be able to get what it returns automatically for us. So in this case, our account here is client or account. So what else does client provide for us? Let's see. Client provides us different things. It provides us upgrade account, type, batch, UID, build, this. Does it provide us balance? Yes. It provides us get balance, get address. So we can use all of these functions, right? So let's try it out. Let's create a balance for ourselves. Create something like this. This refuses to work still. That's super weird. I'm disappointed. For it not even working, I'm so disappointed. Wait. Sorry about this. I need to check this out. This is so when I install this, right? It's supposed to create something for me. It's supposed to create a file for me that because if I was using this, this is what it's supposed to give to me without using any tailwind like CSS code, just plain React Native with styling is what I should have gotten. Same with the avatar too. So if I had done this manually, I would have gotten all of this. But where's the code within the code base? I'm supposed to have it now. So let's see. Do we have it? Obviously not. We don't. That's strange. Let's see our package.json. Do we have that? Yes, I do. So where is the stuff we created? Didn't create anything. Wow. So it doesn't throw an error, but it didn't create anything. It's also created in components, but the component we have here is not here. The component is in source. It's supposed to create a UI and add that UI there, add a configuration, just like we have it. Okay, yeah, we're going to resolve this. Let's just proceed for now. Like I said, we're going to add all of this. It says let the student render this in this and this. You have navigation menu, we have all the other thing. I'm trying to find where this installation used to work. Like I've used this library before, but it's been a while, but I can't remember where we used it. RM primitives, this was the GitHub repo I always used last time, and it worked well. Right now, I'm surprised I can't even find the GitHub repository anymore. That's just weird. So the one I showed you guys, which is the demo, this one, supposed to give us what we use from. Okay, these are the primitives. Yeah, this is it. So it's the same one, but this will take us to the website, but it won't take us to this. This is not what I'm looking for. So this is what I'm supposed to be getting when I get the avatar. I'm supposed to be getting something like this, but it's not being displayed because it's not currently adding it. Okay, so let's proceed with something else. Right? I don't want to waste time on this. So let's check our balance. Like I said, see if we can get that. So I'm going to duplicate this text. I'm going to call it balance. So I'm going to keep it after address. I'm going to call it not user this time around. User dot address. So yeah, fun fact, we also have a Solana address. Anytime you create this, you automatically get the Solana address just to be on the safe side. Like you can see the address here. So you also get a Solana address by default. That's what Arcanine provides for you. So Yeah, I forgot to mention that. So this is your Solana address by default. Once you use your email. So, but still, what we're after is our balance, not the Solana address. So I'm going to create a balance. So I'm going to say not user. User doesn't provide the balance field. You can see it provides me all the credentials except for my balance. So I'm going to use the account dot, not the account, client dot balance. Get balance should be a function, if I'm not mistaken. Um, why can't I get to complete? What is happening to my ID today? Let's see. Okay, this is how we use it. Get client. Okay, there's a function that tells us to get the balance of an address in way. So okay. So not the actual address of the user. So let's see. Does it have a name? Do the clients have a name? Let's see. Account provider. That's the name. That's good. So these are the options we have. We have the account. The account gives us other stuffs, which is what we are using here. Account or address. I'm just trying to get us the balance. See how we can get the balance from here. So we might have to go to the documentation to find out, right? I was assuming that it's going to be available as fast as just calling that from the client, but it's not. So let's go back to the documentation, pick, search for that balance from the SDK now, not from the API. I need from the SDK. Find out, give me something that makes sense. Account and balance queries. This for Solana. Let's see if this will help. This is for Solana, not current state method. So I'm not working with Solana currently. I'm working with Ethereum basically. So, but we can provide support for Solana as you can see. We can provide support for Solana to use just by building the mobile app. So using Alchemy rather, we can provide support for Solana initially, but I'm just trying to get us to see how we can make use of this. Okay, this is using Solana. We are not using Solana here, so definitely not. Not the chains, not that. Show me the functions I need. Why are you slow? Okay. Okay, let's try the get balance that we saw the other time, right? So you say get balance, return the balance of an address in way. So I'm just going to pass in my address here. So I'm going to pass in my address. I'm going to pass in the address. My address is user dot address. So in order to make it simple for me, I can just create a constant here, but there's no need for all of those things. Now, we will have a way to handle all of those things eventually. We know clients might be undefined, but based on what we've done here, it should not really be undefined. And we have, what else? Yeah, that should be it. I think this will fail because it keeps giving issues. Yeah, so it failed. Something is wrong. Error is located at shorting address does not exist. I thought we resolved this. How is that an issue after how many minutes? Okay, using this is basically you passing it. Oh yeah, as passing it as that. So you pass it as this. Let's see what is this. You know what? I'm going to do this. I'm going to see the signature again. I don't know. My ID doesn't give me what I want today. It's behaving extremely bad. Dot get balance. We pass the client, but in this case, the client is already there, so we'll pass it as address as that, and then we'll format the ether, get format ether from somewhere. Okay, so we can get balance like this, and address like this, and user dot address like this. So we can do this, and we can assume this is correct. We should get the answer like this. And if we do this, let's see, what do we get? Fail to compare. Why? Oh yeah, sorry about that. So Our balance is
It's 18 hours.
oh, okay. So this was very stupid. This is a stupid way to do this. Um, we need to await this, so we can't do it this way. So what we can do is we can create. So to get our balance, what we need to do is, because it's an await function, um, we can do this in an effect to get that. I was expecting this to give me like a use balance. So since it's a hook, and I don't need to call it, I should be able to use balance of some sort. Yeah, exactly. So I should be able to use things like use balance, use app kit balance, stuff like this. Um, that's what I would be expecting to use, but this is coming from WAGME. So okay, parameter is this config, and this is what data. Uh, so let's try this. The value. So let's see. Yeah, it must be using WAGME provider. So I didn't trust that was going to work before. It could work. We could just wrap it in the WAGME provider and everything will be fine. But I want us to stick to what we have access to. And this guy should provide us the stuff we need, but it's just not giving us as we want. So if I want to get my from the wallet here, which is where you're supposed to go. So what they change? Let's see the recipes. Let's see some of these things that are here. Smart wallet, no, not this. So let's see some of the code that I did here. Did you use some of that? Use balance, social payment, and DeFi. Okay, so this is my balance. So this should give me that. It's a demo and it's a GitHub. Oh, sheesh. Okay. Oh, you know what? That's fine. We can always implement this later. So I just want to show my balance, and this is just being unnecessarily miserable to work with for balance. Yeah, huh. Only the PIs. Where are you? To show me something reasonable. Request. No, I'm not requesting the account. I want something else. Send the user operation. Create an account. Get my balance should not be this difficult for crying out loud. Come on. Okay. There's this use connected user. Let's see if you can use that. A hook that returns the currently connected user across EVM and Solana of the smart wallet from the client store. Prioritizes EVM connection and Solana, and then finally the smart account user. Let's see if you can use this and see if it returns anything. It returns use connected user result for us. Uh, this is not helpful at all. Not helpful at all. But I think you guys get the idea, right? You get what we are trying to do now, and you see what we've done so far. So far so good. We've used just my email to create the account. We can test it by signing out again and signing in, and you will see that we still get the same address, which is what we are going to do. So in the part three of the series, what we are going to do is I'm going to try resolving the whole theme issue because I want us to stick to the dark theme we have there or configurable depending on the user. We're going to have a settings page and all of those things. So we are going to create different pages. In fact, first of all, let's do that before we end today. So I'm going to create different pages. This is the main page. We are going to have new pages. I'm going to call that I'm going to create a directory. I'm going to create a directory called from what we intend to. We intend to have accounts. Like I said, we need to have an account page. We need to have a send page. We need to have history, then settings. So we're going to create those four pages. So I'm going to start with creating the account page that's a directory, and then I'll add in an index page. So typically it should have been a layout before an index page, but I'm just going to create an index page and I will just export default function and call it account screen like this, and then we just return this. We just return a view. This is the account page. So based on what we see here, like, so we already have this fully set up. This is the account page. All well and good, we're good to go. What we're going to do is do the same thing for, but before we do this, let's go to the layout here and create our stack. So the stack is just how you render the screen. So this is the first screen we have here. We're going to duplicate this and create other screens. So I'm going to not, this is not, I'm going to call this accounts, because what we have here is accounts. So I'll call it accounts. Presentation is going to be an actual page, not a form sheet. Animation is going to be same thing. I'm just going to leave the animations. And I'm going to call that, okay, let me compare this with one of our other projects I showed you guys at that time. So the start from here, I just want to copy something similar. Layout. Yeah, so this is it. This is the stack I have here. So the name, the option. So I just want to copy these options because I don't need to use it. So what this means is it's not going to show the headers for the accounts. It's not going to show the headers for, let's see, header shown false. Oh, perfect. So it's not showing the header, and so that means I don't need to worry about that then. So I'm just going to close this because I don't need it. So I created the name already. The name is onboarding/index. So in this case, as we can see here, the name we gave it here was OTP modal. In this case, it's account, right? So I'm just going to call it account because there's nothing literally there that we need to bother about. So I'll call it an account.index. Sorry, I want to copy something else from here. Presentation. Okay. No, I don't need this for now. So I think we're good to go. So what I'm going to do is to create like links, different links from the different pages, so we can move from there. So we have this already. That's for the first one, which is account. We're going to create more. We're going to create other ones and call it like I said, it's going to be send. I'm going to create another send page, and inside the send page I will have the index tsx file again. I'm going to call that export default function and send screen. So I'm going to return the same thing, view, then this is the send page screen. All send functionalities happen here. So we are going to import view because we need that. So basically this should be all we have. So this, what's the next page we need? History, then settings. So I'm just going to call it history, not activity in this case. I like calling it history because it's well descriptive. So history is going to be index, same thing. So export default function history screen. Right, return, same thing, view. And I can duplicate this, I'm just writing it. I know the history page. So all transactions are displayed here. So we are going to do this like this. We are going to import, I think this import, okay, let me do it. It was not showing me the import here, so I just wanted to do it myself. It's quite simple. So aside from this, next thing is what the settings. So we create under directory settings. I can do this as one file. I don't need to do them with different directories. The reason I'm doing it this way is because I may want to have UI. I want to have my layout, right? I want to have my layout and decide how they are going to work. But it doesn't really matter. It depends. I just like having it clean like this, so I know what I'm working with. So export default function settings screen. So return this the view, same as always. Then say this is the settings page. All settings are applied here. So I'll create another PR like this. I'll import this, import view from React Native. Very good. So everything should be fine now, right? We've imported everything, we've installed everything, we started from scratch, and then we've done everything we needed to do. So from start to finish, everything should be fine. So what's the next thing to do? So let's have a link that adds the different pages from the index. So from the main dot, not from the main page. Yeah, from the so we have to do here to have one separator here. We're going to have a link to the different pages. So we're going to have like we're going to link it to different pages. We're going to have a link and call it export router. The href is going to be to the account, right? Basically, so we're going to have a link to account page and account screen. So I'm going to call it screen, right? Same thing for settings screen. So we are going to have the same thing for send. So we're going to have the same thing for what history. So we have the 4 of them defined like this. So if you check here, we can see we literally have them like this. So clicking on none of them should take me to that. So very much understand that this gives me an issue. The error we get there is because of this. You don't define text directly in views in React Native. You do it in a different way. And now what do? Let me change this font. Sorry about this. Okay, 24. So I have to define it as a text. So I define this and have this like this. So that should not really give you an issue anymore. So I have to also import text from the other one. So I'll do the same thing for history. So not to have that issue. So I'm going to import text and view from React Native and do something like this. So I'm going to add all of this as text into it. So that should be done. Do the same thing for settings. Yeah, you get the idea. Nothing too different, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use AI. Like I said, we're still going to use AI to make all of this work. But for now, let's just set up the prerequisites. And then before we go into the definitions proper, we are going to make use of stuff that make it work. So what's the last page? History. We've done send. We've done send. So we create a text component, a text using the React Native text. So we do this text, and then this is perfect, right? So no issues, no problem. You can see this giving me the account page, both buttons at the top, very much at the top. So the reason is because we need to define a safe area view. There is we call the safe area view something you need to like define what you want. So the safe area view in this case, let me show you where we have that. We have that in the layout, if I'm not mistaken. We have that in the layout here, safe area view. Do we? Oh, no, we don't. Okay, so that's why you can see it displaying at the top here, very, very terribly aligned. So I know we have a safe area. We have seen it somewhere here. Safe area. Safe area, safe area, safe area. Where did we use that? Did we use that anywhere? We used it in the layout. Okay, we did. Okay, yeah, this is it. So we didn't use the safe area view itself. We just defined the bottom and used it. Where did we use it? Let me look for it. Yeah, we defined it by setting the bottom plus 40, but we don't want to do this. This is like a terrible way to do it because you're already defining the safe area context. So why not just import the safe area and use that by default on all the layout itself? So what we are going to do is go back to the layout here, which is this, and use the safe area for all of them. So safe area here, not safe area view, rather, like this. So we are going to import it from React safe area context, since we know that that works automatically for us. And then we're going to do this and wrap the entire thing inside the safe area context. So we are going to give it a style of flex to be 1 to fix all the issues that may be pending. So you can see this happening here. So if I click account screen, you can see it doesn't show outside of the view anymore. So what we need to do is go back to the index page like this and remove the bottom that was added by adding bottom plus 40. This is a terrible way to do it because you have to do manually for like this for all components, which is just absurd. You don't want to do this, right? You literally don't want to do this. So we have this. going back, we don't have a way to go back to the previous page. So what I'm going to do is for us to have that, we can by just dragging this, right? Because just a link, but because we don't have that, it's not going to go back. So what we're going to do is um, go to account and the header, just the way we have the screen option, the header here, we're going to have our options also and define the header to be header shown to be true. So for this one, I want the header to show. So if I go to our account screen, you can see it showing here. So it will take me back automatically. So we want that to work. So margin bottom, no, I don't want this. Okay, but that is different. Where else do we use the bottom here? We used it where the container padding top is 20, so we don't want this, right? That's just terrible. So you can see still padding top is this. Flex scroll is that. Okay, so I believe you can see all of this now. So this is what we have, and so far so good. Everything has been well done. We have our app well defined here, and to make it a bit more reasonable, we already have all the screens we want to make use of. So all we need to do is define the screens down here as buttons that we can use. But before that, I want to get the button. I want to get the balance. So, like I said, we're supposed to create our alchemy setup, right? The MCP servers that we can use to use AI to do more for us. And that was part of the plan for yesterday, but we couldn't do that yesterday. So we are going to do something today just to make it flow. First thing we're going to do is we're going to say alchemy. We're going to add it to our MCP server. Like I said, I already have it in my MCP server. So if you check here, you can see I already have an alchemy here. So what you do in this case is do the same thing. So okay, I'm going to remove this third web API because it doesn't work. But you can see I already have an Alchemy server here. I'll go to settings and show you guys. Configure the Alchemy server. You can see I already have an Alchemy server here that you can use. All you need to do is just pass it in like this. You have Alchemy server. All you need to do is look for your LLM from your probably your ID or whatever. You get the configuration. You will see something like MCP servers here. Go back to your Alchemy docs. Remember the Alchemy, the MCP server I showed you guys yesterday, Alchemy MCP server. Click on that, copy this directory, and pass in your API key at this point. So that's the same thing you can see I'm doing here. Try it. I just copied Alchemy here, but I have other MCP servers that I use for Hero UI Native, for Convex, for Third Web API, so that the LLM can make informed decisions based on the documentation of the site. So that's why, and that's how to define it. So I currently have LLMs here that I can use, so I don't really need to bother about it much. I have like I have an MCP server that I use, so I don't really need to bother about it. So to proceed to go to the next thing, I want the API to or the LLM to decide, the AI to decide and say, I want to add to get the balance of this account and display it on the display it in main index here. Can you fetch that for me and display it? How will you implement this? So now basically we will round up very soon, right? I want us to just get something out here, then we'll round up, then we'll proceed tomorrow because I need to also fix this whole styling issue. I don't want I don't want to bore you guys with that one because styling issues sometimes can be crazy. The best way to do it is to import or clone the library that already defines the style, then build upon it. That's the way I always do it most times. But because this is more crucial than doing that, we couldn't clone the style project first, then add this on top. We needed to make this work, then add in the styles also, which I believe can still work. I know this is just a versioning issue. Like when we did all those checks the other time and it wasn't working, it just has to do with the styling. So yeah. So this is telling me that there is a balance from account React Native. I really don't want to believe you. Okay, there's no balance from account React Native. You lie. Okay, so I believe this makes a lot more sense. So we have to use this, use this, use this, use this. Everything works. So it's perfect in this use case. So yeah, so this is a lie. The AI just told me that it has use balance, and I definitely know it doesn't have use balance. Imagine telling me something that doesn't exist and you're just saying it with so much confidence. This is terrible. Ah my god, the AI can be annoying. Okay, whatever. So let's try creating and fixing this on my by myself. Like we'll tell it to do other things when we have a better structure. So first thing I have issue with here is why does it display this way? Where is this gap coming from? I'm no longer using the bottom here, so I'm only using it here, which is at the document information, which is not being used for much. Yeah, so that doesn't relate, that doesn't fix, doesn't cause any issues. Okay, let's see if there's any stack here. Say if Rabby is one, then the stack is line is defined. Where's the space coming from? Oh, no. Again, margin vertical is 20. Mm-hmm. That's fine. Margin bottom is this. These are fine. There's no problem here. You have to do the layout. Oh yeah, it's the layout. So the layout has its own stack screen. The as if I'm not mistaken, padding vertical and padding top. Okay, the top you get the top from the inset again. Yeah, I just need something on top. So we don't want this. We don't want this. We don't want this. We don't want to be creating multiple stuff. Just give it the same stuff all through. That's a terrible way to write it. Whoever wrote that should know. We need to actually update that library. The library is just not suitable for this kind of workflow. Probably I'll contribute to that thing and make it work for modern. I need to just make sure it is working with the latest version of Expo and React Native because that's crucial. You don't want to use the old version, you don't get security update and stuff, and that is not crucial for our use case. So I'm going to find a way to resolve that. So, but not now. So yeah, let's just get this working first. So I'm going to create a I'm going to add something here. I'm going to use a use effect here to do something, and it's going to be await get balance. The get balance is coming from wagme call. So I'm not using wagme here. I'm just going to do client dot get balance. So that's going to be basically client dot get balance. Okay, you come here. If no user, none. Where is user coming from? Okay, yes, use user. Oh. Okay. So this will give me the account. Client account. block tag, block number. Okay, so I'm going to create a state here that makes this work. So I'm going to create a state, use state. I'll call it, I don't know what value it is. I'll just call it null for now, or without even defining anything in it. So I'll just say my balance, set my balance. So all of these things will still go to a state because thank God we have substance created. So what we need to do is create a store that we can always use, and that should make our work extremely easy without even having to rethink much, right? So I think that works. So let's update this with this. So we get an async balance const async const balance equal to. So we have this await this and const BAL. I know the names are not well written, but just bear with what I'm doing here. So I'm going to use this const this async. What did I write before? We have balance like this. That means automatically get that. So this will always change if the user changes. So the user dot address, but it's fine. It's only when the user changes that is going to update that effect. So by doing this, I should be able to get my balance and call it my balance. So let's see what we get as the balance. Do we get anything? No. Why? That's strange. Why is this giving me error again? Address and so. Do you use VM? I need to know if you use VM. Is VM already installed? It's not. API type, obviously. Let's see if it works. It doesn't. Okay, that's fine. I don't know. Mantle complete is not working. I can't even determine if this is wrong or is right. So const console.log balance main index balance bal. So only a few minutes before we round up this. So just bear with me till we are done. So let's see the balance to see if you have any significant stuff. Why does this keep giving me that error? Do you even know if everything we've been doing works for some time? So the balance is undefined and undefined. So yeah, something is clearly wrong here. Oh, account or address. Oh my god, I just did nonsense. So you can see the balance showing 0 here. So if I'm not mistaken, it should be showing 0 here as well. But it's not going to show because yeah, it's a big number. So I need to convert it to a number or to a string. Let's see. Undefined true. Wow. So it's going to be my balance dot to string else 0. So it's going to show 0 here. Else 4. Let me show 4. So I know when it changes. So balance is showing 0. Why it's showing 0 end here, which is a why do you show me 0 there? What's this? Oh yeah, we don't set the balance anyway. Set balance should be balance. Yeah, so we should have that. So in this case, it's complaining of convert to this. Big int undefined is not assignable to parameter of type set state action this. So we need to set this to big int or undefined. So that way we know that the value we get is going to be that. So currently we set the balance to this. So we're expecting the balance to update. whenever there's a change. So we can set this to set my balance is big integer. Come on, change. It's supposed to. Why is it not auto refreshing? 4. Why is it still showing 4? That's wrong. Because my balance now is still undefined. What? Why? I've added my balance to this place. Did anything change? Nothing changed now. So my balance is defined, taking the value inside here. Showing 0 again. Session client, I guess. That's wrong. So it should be account. That's actually very wrong too, because they're not using user here. It's showing 0. Why is set not working? All right, so successfully we've done this. The balance is not still working where I want it to. Of course, it's showing 0, but it's not rendering 0 to this screen. So I'm saying when there's balance, which is expected, return the balance as this. That's cast it to a number. I want to cast it to a number because it's currently going to be a big integer. A big integer will not be displayed. Most times it always gets issues rendered, and it's supposed to like throw an issue most times. But in this case, it doesn't do that. But here also, it doesn't give me the result. That doesn't set the balance. It's supposed to be set my balance to the value that is gotten from here, which is either big int or undefined. But it doesn't do that. So what we can do here, as you can see, right, it's showing 0 of this. So if I want to be sure, I can decide to say number of 0. That means I'm typecasting the value of balance rather. So I'm typecasting the value to 0. So you can see it's 0, but it's not displaying. Okay, that's true. It's not going to work because 0 also means false. So it's understandable that it doesn't work. 0 also means false, so we can't use this. This is a wrong check. It's always going to be displaying the wrong values. Best thing we can do is now you can see this is 0 now. That's the best thing. The reason why it wasn't displaying is because we are checking against 0. 0 we always give 0. I know that can be stupid at times, but that's how the computer interprets it because 0 is still false. It's always false. So even if it's a number, it's still going to be returning false. So that's that. So currently we can see our balance is 0. We can test it out. We don't know the chain. Let's see the chain that this is connected to. We do not know the chain. So can we get the chain is connected to? Yes. How do we know that? Let's go to our reference. This is our reference. We don't have much to go with, but we can always check the reference to determine other things like the use chain. We can use chain to get, if I'm not mistaken, a hook that returns the correct chain as well as function to set the new chain. Note that when calling set chain, the chain that must be passed is defined in your initial create core config. So you need to set the chain that causes the chain to change across the board. For example, if you use set chain, then you must use this. You flip to the loading state and account to all of this. So I will explain what this is saying eventually, but what we just need to do is do this, get the current chain that is being loaded. So I'm going to move this like here. So we're going to import the chain from account kit React Native because that's what we are using, right? So we get that. You can see there's chain, set chain, and is setting chain. So we're going to call that, we're going to say the chain that we are currently working with. So it's going to be chain, basically dot to string dot name. So if you get the name, you can see it's using Sepolia. So we can Sepolia what? You can see which chain dot what ID. Also, you can use that. You can see the ID. That's Sepolia Ethereum. You can also have other things from the chain because the chain is a chain object. So how do we know all of these things that exist from the chain? If you go back here, you can do something like this. I know it's going to throw an error because that's the object. It's an object cannot be displayed. Native currency. So it's going to show you it now. So how do we know is that we can see that the chain gives a result of use chain result. A use chain result is giving us a type of chain, which I can even click here. Documentation is just a bit messy, so please just bear with it. We try. So chain.native currency. Yeah, so what's the problem here? Okay, so chain.native currency dot name. So we can see the native currency also has a name, so we can call it Sepolia Ether. So we can change the name to native currency. This way we can display like this. So we know we are currently working with what? Ethereum Sepolia. So let's test it out. Let me send some Sepolia to this account, right? So I'm going to use this wallet. I'm sure I have Sepolia on this wallet. Let me just refresh and log into this. If not, it's not going to work. So I have Sepolia here. I have 0.009 on this account. I can switch to another account that I have. I think I have more on other accounts, but for now, these are the accounts I have. So I'm on Sepolia currently. You can see Sepolia testnet. This is my balance. I'm going to send to this address. So I'm going to copy the address of this user, right? So I'm going to assume I'm sending to this one. So what's the address again? I shortened the address. Okay, I don't want to shorten it anymore because I need it. Yeah, so I don't want to shorten this. So I need the full address. So I'm going to copy this. Oh no, big problem. All right, no problem. I'm going to shorten this to you. I'm just going to console log it somewhere here. Console.log on main index and say account address, wallet address equal to this chain or user dot address. So it's going to be after this. So I know that it's always going to load it and print it for me. So wallet address is this. I'm going to copy this. I'm going to send it to this guy and send it as a recipient. Continue with address, yes. So I have 0.0993, which is about $2 worth of Sepolia. So I'm going to send. So I'm going to say 0.0002, which is about 0.6 USD. So this is live. This thing, everything you see here on the wallet is like working functionally. So not really an issue. So it's going to estimate the gas fee, and it's going to tell me if gas can be sponsored for me. So this gas is sponsored for me. So like I said, if you really want a wallet that makes life easy for you without having to pay much while you are still exploring the Web3 space, this is like the best wallet you can use. It's called Wallet Pro. Go and check it out and give your feedback too. So to make it better. So if I send this, it's going to be free. I'm not going to pay a dime. You can see my balance is still going to be this. So note the balance I'm sending. I'm sending 0.60. I have 2.80. So when I'm done, it's going to give me literally 2.2 as my balance. So let's just see. It's going to be 0.00733. Nothing is going to be out of the balance. So sending this, let's see if one of these will get the transaction when it is done. So this is the transaction. This is how the transaction is going to look like too when we are done on this new mobile version. So that means if everything goes well here, we should be getting the same 0 point whatever we sent. I can't remember 0.0002, right? Which is about $0.60 equivalent. So that's the Sepolia testnet we've sent. So doing this now, we can be sure that if we just make any change here and then run just so that it just updates, right? Like this, we can see that we have the balance here. Literally see we have the balance here. So that means I've successfully sent what we want to use, successfully sent the token we have. So you can see that the wallet is adding up, right? So we started from setting it up, adding certain things. Now we've gotten our balance out of it. And you can see the balance now. So we want to convert it to not just display like this because this is the way equivalent. I want it to show, like I want to format it. So I will format it. I just hope the format it function is available from VM. So there's VM. Wow, nice. Format it is here. So I'm just going to say format it is going to be format it is going to be this. Format from VM and perfect. So we're going to do that. Is VM installed? I don't have VM installed. So why did you suggest VM for me when you don't have it installed? Cheers. Okay, you know what? I'm going to install VM because I like the package. It's a very usable package. Hopefully it doesn't give us any issues. Hopefully. If it does, I'm just going to remove it. So but it's a very good one. It's a very good library. Like most everything we are going to make use of makes sense. And if you look at this also from the get started, I think it was suggested for us to use VM. It says quick start guide, set up Academy with VM. As you can see from here, make your first Academy request, set it up with VM, create this, install this, add VM, create a script, and all of this. But we didn't use this approach because we wanted to use it as a React Native application. So the reason why I'm creating this is because, as you can see from here, we already have this. And you can see we submitted successfully. So we have an extension of it. We can also have a mobile version of it, right? There's no crime in doing that. So going back to this, I've added VM successfully. Let's see if everything works fine. This has changed my dependencies a lot. Wow. Let's see. Does it break anything? Hopefully not. Hopefully not. So yes, we format this. Where is it again? So we've added format VM. So let's see. This gives me the not. How am I formatting? How am I formatting the address? Okay, so we format the balance. So we say format ether with this. Format the balance. The balance is this is in a big int, so I'm not going to display this way. I'm just going to display the big int value, and then I'll say in way. So you can see 0.002, but that's not all. We want to use the native currency as well. So we're going to say chain.nativeCurrency.symbol. So if we do that, we can see. So we have the actual value. So we have this and makes sense, right? Yeah, that's what we are trying to implement. So I know this is just being annoying right now. It's not assigned to this, I know, but it works. Initially, it's going to throw an error because it doesn't exist. All right, so those are checks we can do. But as you can see here, we already have our balance, we have our address, we even have an equivalent Solana address created for us. We have an actual address that we can also make use of, and we have the organization ID alongside with it. But that is not all we are trying to do. We still have more stuff. So if you look at this now, we can compare it to this. We can compare it to this, right? Because now we know our 0.007 ETH. I can modify it to look like this. We have our address, we have our account, we have a name for it, we have this, and we have this. So we can literally make it look like that. But we can't do all of those things now because it will take a lot of time to style this. There should be a better way to style all of those things, right? Based on our approach so far. So this is what we have so far. So good. And we have all the other screens. The other screens are going to render them. But what we are going to get started with in the next part of the series, so I can round up this one, is we are going to, now that we know we've set up everything, we already have our wallet because I basically can send value to this now, even though we are using testnet for now. we can still use the actual stuffs. We can even also sponsor gas for users from here. We can just make it look like an actual modern wallet with all the security features baked in, right? And then it just works from there. So this is what we are going to be doing. This is what we are going to be making use of. So like I said, we are using Alchemy a lot in this. We're also going to be making use of other libraries, but from what we've seen so far, this is our implementation going well. You can see the balance that was sent to it from the other wallet, from Wallet Pro extension also. And you can see it sent from, you can see the chain we are currently connected to, the light account address, and then the Solana address that was given to us as well, and the organization ID. So we can keep all of this in our store. So what we can do is we can create a Zoostan store for this so that it doesn't need to always fetch it. It can be catched. So these are the things we are going to do to work on the next part. But before then, I'm going to set up the proper style for it, because setting up style is going to take hours, literally. Especially now that I can't even get the ones I always used before to work. I'll have to look for one that works for me or that makes this project easy for us to use, literally, so that we can proceed. So this is probably what we're going to be. We're going to be using RM primitives. We are going to be leveraging RM primitive. The reason for we wanting to use, or why I would like to use RM primitive, is because it's easy to just copy the what we need. For instance, if I want to use the avatar again, like I did the other time, instead of just using it like this, it's just a view. It's just a view and image, literally, and it's customizable. So all I need to do is go to manual, copy the code from here. As you can see, there's no external component. It's just basic stuff with basic styling, and then I can copy the types also, and then I can use it this way. So this is what we are going to work with eventually. What I can even do right now is try creating it, right? Say copy the following coding, component primitives, avatar this, and see if it works. So you can see the same thing here, and the import is also the same thing. Nothing too crazy. And how do we use it? Usage is like this: rm primitives slash avatar. So what I'm thinking of, that's what I'm thinking about, and why I think it's not working, it's not showing anything here, is because we do not have like a style for it. That's what I believe, but then that might not be the issue still. It might just be something else entirely that we are thinking about that is not there. But so far so good. We know this is here, and then we know we can always make use of it. And installing it is not a problem in any form, in any sense at all. It's quite easy to work with. But what we are going to make use of is the menu bar. And what I want us to use is this, just to show us what we are going to make use of from here. Because remember, we are going to be working with this. We are working with creating this, right? We are creating this UI, literally. So this is what we are creating. So we need this menu. We need some other things from here. So let's see what we need. So let's say we want to get a card. This is how the card looks like. You can always modify it even with the theme. And you can always have tabs too. Right? This is not perfect, like based on what we have, because looking at our own UI from here, you can see how beautiful this is. But we can't use all of this on the web because they are not directly suitable for that. So we need to make changes, certain changes and few. But like I said, I can always add other UI libraries to it to make it even better than we have currently. It depends, right? Anything can be done. If native link doesn't work, I can always get something to work. So yeah, this is where we are going to stop today. And you can see we have all the screens already implemented. We have this account screen, the send screen, the history. Okay, so I'm going to take this back. We're going to minimize this because it's not there. So I'm going to so this was the error I was talking about. We can't have to string of undefined for line 78. 75, which is here, because this doesn't exist. So we can only use this if balance exists, right? So we're going to just do something like this. My balance dot, so I can't even use my balance right now because it's zero, literally zero. So we are going to do that. So I'm going to just use this as big int. So it should not give us that error anymore. So because it's undefined. Initially going to be undefined. Oh my god. Yeah, is a problem. It's never going to show the balance, like I said, because of that issue. Um, we can't use the past integer too because it might not exist at that moment. Okay. Still, I'm going to restart this because it's still going to give the same problem. So I'm going to refresh it. Now it works because it's dependent on client. Client is dependency. So now we are good to go. We shouldn't have the whole issue that we had before. So like I said now, you can, I don't like the space mono font that it's using. It's using the space mono. So that means, if I'm not mistaken, space mono was created exactly. So we are using the space mono font for some things, which is for balance and stuff. So I don't really want that. So the title here is going to change from space mono to using an actual font. Um, it didn't load that as the default font for everything. No, because the settings screen does not use that. So that's fine then. So for the title, use the space mono font. For the separator, it's fine. For the user text, space mono font. Yeah, so it's changed. So now we can use this, or we can still use the space mono font too. Nothing, there's no bad stuff there. We can always use our own font. We can get a new font and make use of it. But basically, this is the idea. So I know this doesn't look like a wallet yet, but yeah, it's it's something because now we have our address. We have two address types. In fact, we have a Solana address given to us also for free. We have a balance now on Sepolia to be 0.002, and we have our other light account. So I'm not going to use all of those. So I'm just going to keep that out of the way. The light account address, I'm just going to comment all of this. We have them, but we don't need them for now. So that's just our account. And basically all I sent to was just this address here, 084411, and it works perfectly well. So this is the part two of this build a mobile Web3 mobile wallet. And yes, we are going to build this, complete it from just that we are moving little by little now. I'm going to set up the styling, like I said, the style library that I'm going to use. And once I get that set up, we can move faster because then it will be easy to like set up dark mode, set up light mode, set up themes easily for text and other things. So we don't need to be using dark is light, is dark is light multiple times. We just set one standard, more like using Tailwind, and everything should work fine. Like literally spot on, work fine, no issues. So this is what we're going to do. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to commit all of this since we have a very good pass we've done so far. Fail to connect to Kilo Code. I'm going to generate this with my JetBrains account then. Okay, so it's going to commit all of this. So like I said, we are going to push this. So I'm going to create a repo for now, since we already have this working, and then we're going to push that to the repo. So yes, this is going to be the end of our setting today. You can see we already have a wallet on our mobile app now that I can send something to. So also you can also try sending to this address and it's going to work. But remember, we're on Sepolia currently. We should have other options to be able to add to other chains. Like remember we said we can modify or we can set the chains we are using. But how can we do that also? One way, before we go, let me show you this last thing. So one of the ways we can do that is set our chain here like this. Set the chain we want to use. So how do we know to do this? If you go to the quick starts, right, you can see the first thing we have is this create smart wallet accounts, which is literally what we have here, smart accounts client in this case. Smart wallet client, which is like what you do for when you want to create a local signer, right? But if you want to use the one we have, remember that we still have a light account address in this case. So that's for when you want to implement something like that. You can also have a modular wallet, which we talked about. But that's not the main thing right now. Smart account types. Yes, modular V2, which is a smart wallet. So let's get started with the modular V2, which is what we are working with. You can see here. So let me show you guys how that works. So for the modular V2, we need to create the modular V2 account, but we do not need to do all of this because smart account client already gives us the ability to select what we want. So what I'm just trying to show us here is that we can have this, we need to have the chains here, and we can define multiple chains for it. So how do we do that now? So currently by default, the chain that is available is Sepolia, right? But in this case, we can use multiple chains because if you look at this, the smart account client generates for us. Okay, I don't have my autocomplete today, and that is a bit annoying. Sorry about that. So, but let me show you guys what it does. So this is what the smart account client does. It extends the chain, right, to have multiple, to have that chain, and this is how you can use it. So you can use it this way. But when you are setting up your account client, you need to set some other stuffs to it. It's no longer. It's not. I wish I could show you guys what I mean from here, but then it's not. But this is properties you can use. The account, the options, the policy ID. Policy ID is for if you want to like sponsor gas and all of those things. You can use the policy, you can set the policy ID, then you can use the policy ID that you set up for gas sponsorship to sponsor gas for users. Just similar to what I did for this, whereby you can, okay, let me show you guys this thing, where the user does not even need to pay for gas at all for the transactions he or she performed. And like if you remember when I said the user doesn't need to perform any, doesn't need to pay for gas for what it's used, right? Let me log in again. So you literally notice that that is actually valid because in this case we can see it still have 0.00733. Like I said, it's not going to change. Why? Because we sponsored gas for that transaction. So you can also do the same for users when we are done with this wallet. We can sponsor gas for the users that we are going to be for our users on the app, probably for a certain number of transactions or something. We can configure it to whatever we want and sponsor gas for that user. So that makes a lot more sense, right? So we can do that. And we can define the transport also. The transport basically is another way we can define what we want. So all of those exist here. We just need to look at the reference to understand how it is being used. So in this case, we need the wallet client, and then we can see create smart wallet client. But this is not what we are using. We are using the account client. So we go back to the React Native hooks and go to the use smart account client, which allows us to define multiple clients in one or choose the clients we want to use. And that's basically it. So what else? What else are we missing today? I want us to continue this, but I don't want us to do much on this because we can't really move fast until I fix the whole styling issue. I like to use a style that's it's already predefined and then you don't need to reinvent most of the stuffs you want to use. So it already has like predefined templates and all that you can use, or even just the generic things like how theme works, how you can make it easy. And I like to use Tailwind also for my stuff. So I know that it's not the fastest, but it works. Or probably I will set up Uniwind. Uniwind might be the one we use eventually because Uniwind also is good for whatever we are trying to use. So that might just be what we focus on. We might use Uniwind and just stick to it, and that's it. We're done. So I'll try to see if we can get that to work today. So until then, thank you guys for joining to this part 2 of this series. And tomorrow is going to be part 3 of the series. We are going to do a lot more tomorrow. So get ready for that. We might literally even touch on all these things tomorrow. The settings page, the account pages, because once we have all that we need, it should be very easy for us to just move fast. Like extremely. We already have everything we want, right? We already have our way to get our accounts, ways to get our wallet details, ways to get ways to configure the settings, ways to define if we want to sponsor gas for users. We already know how to set the chain. So everything you literally see on the homepage from here, like I shared you with you guys, can be done tomorrow. All we need to do is just define the design, the drop down, and literally everything, like just the same, nothing changes. So that whenever the user clicks this, we are going to make some decisions to fit into the mobile flow here, but it's literally going to be the same thing, the same design. I can just copy the design from this one that is done already, add it there, modify it, and we are good to go. So expect a lot tomorrow and the part three of the series. It's going to be fun. So thank you guys for joining. And once again, appreciate that. And see you guys in next part of the series. Bye for now.